Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Navigation. Start on 9 Snakes Island, rewarded with a bone scraper. Chapter 91. Kensuke thought for a long time. Okay, I believe in you and I hope you can treat these two children well. Baiyi nodded and asked Hiyori and Kuina to pick up one each. He then came to Zoro and looked at Zoro's injuries. Ouch, with this kind of injury, even an adult would be dead. But Zoro's life breath is still stable. What kind of pervert physique is this? Use Op Fruit's ability to clean his wounds, reconnect the broken bones, and put him on the stretcher sent by the villagers. After relaxing the body, he used the Gomono technique to control the stretcher and flew towards the dawn. Avenging Nami and recruiting her will change the future world line. It is detected that Host has formed an alliance with Jinbei and recruited Zoro and Nami in advance. Do you want to choose the interception mission? Cut Who mission. Intercept all the partners of Luffy, the protagonist of this world, in advance. They cannot be killed or robbed. They must gain their sincere loyalty. If the mission is successful, you can choose 2 of the 8 magical skills. The mission is limited to 3 years. If you don't accept it, this reward will be issued. This reward will be Rui Jin. Sitting on the bow of the boat blowing in the wind, Baiyi thought about the choices given by the system. In the past, the system has never actively released tasks, and rewards were distributed based on the extent of its changes to the future world line. This is the first time this has happened. It doesn't seem difficult to cut off Luffy's partner in advance. Now Zoro has joined his own camp. Nami was abducted by him and boarded the ship. It was not difficult to fool this little girl. Sanji is still on the cruise ship orbit at this time, Usopp is in West Rob Village, Frankie is in the Seven Waters capital, Chopper is on Drum Island, and Brook is in the Demon Triangle. Only Robin, who is still wandering in West Blue at this time, does not know his specific location. Fortunately, I haven't snatched Chopper's Renren fruit yet, otherwise, this mission would have been lost. The reward for a successful mission is the 8 magical skills of your choice. He now has many abilities. Bone Scraper, Luku Immortal Thief, 5 Directions Revealed, Earthly Immortal, Divine Machine, 100 Refiners, Great Compassionate Hand, Ghost Shadow Walk, Tai Chi, Phantom Body Barrier, Bajiquan, Close Black Lens, Bracket Open Black Lens, Bracket Origin of Chi Ti, Close Black Lens, Bracket Open Black Lens, Bracket Ju Ling Dispatch, General, Close Black Lens, Bracket. Among them, Earth Walking Immortal, Ghost Walking and Illusion Body Barrier are the abilities commonly used by oneself to get into trouble. Although they are not the 8 wonders, they are very useful. Coupled with Op Fruit's space ability, there is basically no place in the world that you can't go to. The Luku Immortal Thief is a shortcut for him to become stronger quickly, and it can also eliminate the negative effects of the Devil Fruit. Combined with the natural divine power and defense provided by Wafang Jie, it provides him with an extremely powerful physical body. The Great Compassionate Hand, Tai Chi and Bajiquan are now one of the most important means for me in close combat. As for the ability that I invest the most time in, it is still the skill of magic. Eat Shang, Wu Dogai, Supreme Sharp Sword and Dragon, and the transformation of Daybreak all rely on the ability of Shenji Bai. Moreover, if you want to build a self-cultivation furnace, you will definitely need both hands and Fenghu Kimen. After you succeed in this mission, you can choose 2 of the 8 magical skills, which happens to meet this condition. If you refuse, you will still have the opportunity to obtain the other 8 magical skills, but the rewards distributed each time will be random. The more you change the world, the fewer rewards you will receive in the future. Whether you can obtain all 8 magical skills is still unknown. But Rui Jin is also good. As the gatekeeping method of the Lu family, Rui Jin is not weaker than the traditional techniques of any sect. In fact, the Rui philosophy in it is also integrated with Tai Chi. Combining the 2, you may be able to comprehend a more powerful history. After thinking for a long time, he finally chose to take on the task. Next, we have to find a way to find Robin. Soon after, Nami and Nokigao woke up from the coma. Because the environment was unfamiliar, they did not dare to move. Karina, who came into the house to clean, found that the 2 were awake and took them out. Thank you. The 2 girls thanked Baiyi for avenging them. Baiyi accepted it calmly, and then asked, Marine's Colonel Rat, do you want to kill him? Nami immediately replied, of course. Because of him, my mother was killed by pirates. I must kill him. Nokigao quickly blocked Nami's mouth. After all, he was 2 years older than Nami and more sensible. Although the man in front of them saved them, they knew nothing about him. How could they say such nonsense as killing Colonel Marine? Bai Yi said, he is Colonel Marine. Killing him means becoming Marine's enemy. Do you dare to pay such a price? Nami broke free from Nokigao's hand and replied without hesitation, dare. As long as I can avenge my mother, I'm not afraid even if it means death. Very good. Bai Yi is very satisfied. He deserves to be a member of the protagonist group. This realization is the same. In that case, follow me from now on, and I will teach you how to compete with the world government. Called Yamato over. From now on, you will be their chief instructor. Yamato is very happy. Now Kurina, Nokigao and Nami are all her apprentices. Kuina and Zoro also practice chi with her and are half of her apprentices. Even Hiyori should always ask her for fighting skills. In the cabin, Hancock leaned gently on his chest. Bai Yi, you seem to like children very much. She traveled with Bai Yi and found that Bai Yi would always take in some children in various places. From Kazuki Hiyori in Wanokuni, to Kurina, Kuina, Zoro, Nako, and Nami in East Blue. Even Yamato, the oldest among them, is only 16 years old this year. Dawn, which was originally a bit deserted, is slowly becoming lively. Every day the deck is filled with the shouts of these pirates practicing their martial arts. What we have to do cannot be accomplished by just you and me. We need more strong people to join us. Bai Yi slowly explained his intention to her. However, the famous strong men in the sea all have their own arrogance and can only be used but cannot be trusted. But these children are different. They are still young. We have the opportunity to cultivate them as confidants. Moreover, their talents are very high. In the future, their names will surely shock the world. Hancock hummed. I listen to you, as long as it is what you want to do, I will support it. Bai Yi unfolded the chart, and the next stop was Shiluobu village. But on the way, they met the pirate Kyo again. Hiyori, headed by Kuina, killed all the pirates. This little pirate actually has a bounty of 16 million. Hiyori brought a head and sent it to Hancock to be petrified. Bai Yi was a little surprised when he saw the head they brought back. Hakujiko, the leader of the Black Cat pirates, died like this. Bai Yi didn't take Beiji Keluo's death seriously. In the end, he was just a little pirate. This guy has a good scheming, and his abilities are pretty good in East Blue. After all, the so-called East Blue Overlord Krieg only has a bounty of 17 million. But for him, the most important role is the value of his head. The next morning, when the dawn arrived at the port of Shiluobu village, the seriously injured and comatose Zoro happened to wake up. Looking at Zoro, who was wrapped in bandages and jumping around, everyone was amazed at this guy's vitality. With that kind of injury, not only did he not die, he actually fell asleep for a few days before he could get out of bed and move around. Zoro held a large piece of Sea King's meat and wolfed it down. This was the nutritional deficiency after the body repaired the trauma. Sir Bai Yi, I want to stay on the boat to practice and won't go to the island. Little Zoro slurred while devouring his food. Master Bai Yi, let me stay too. Seeing Zoro volunteering to stay behind, Kuina also took the initiative to stay. Night travel, Bai Yi said to them, you have no sense of energy yet. If you don't understand anything, you can ask Salome. Salome, Kuina looked at the maid with a graceful figure. Since she boarded the ship, she has rarely heard Salome speak. She only knows that this girl dressed as a maid is the helmsman of the Dawn and has a good relationship with Hancock. They are like sisters. However, looking at Salome and Hancock's similar appearance, it seems that the two are really sisters. Yes, Salome showed a gentle smile to them, and a ball of chi wrapped around her palms. A large handprint was faintly formed, but it slowly disappeared. It is a hand of great mercy. Bai Yi had no secrets from her and taught her everything she was willing to learn. Salome is now able to skillfully use the great compassionate hands and earthly immortal techniques. As for boxing, I learned Tai Chi. I don't know if it's because of her spiritual intelligence, but her talent is extremely high. But thinking about it, her current form, in her previous life, would have been a great demon in the transformation stage. If she encounters pirates like Jessie again, she can repel them all by herself. Are Sister Salome and Sister Hancock sisters? Kuina asked this question curiously. Not only her, but Karina, Nokigao, and Nami were also very curious. No, Salome explained. Sister, I am my master. Owner. The little girls were even stranger. Is Sister Salome a slave? Salome shook her head and said proudly, no. It's a pet. Salome is my sister's favorite pet. Several girls. What kind of tiger and wolf words are these? Does anyone else like to be pets? Seeing that they didn't believe it, Salome then revealed her true form. Salome was originally a water snake, and he became a human after eating the fruit of man. Then, she showed her human animal form with her upper body being a human and her lower body being a snake, and then returned to her maid form again. This scene made even Zoro, who had always been very nervous, open his mouth in shock. After breakfast, Salome, Kuina and Zoro stayed behind while Bai took the others to the island. As soon as I landed on the island, I heard a little boy shouting loudly, "The pirates are coming! The pirates are coming!" Bai, it's a really familiar plot. Usopp ran towards the village, shouting loudly that the pirates were coming. But the villagers took his call seriously and regarded his call as a wake-up call. Brother Yi, why does that person think we are pirates? After experiencing the initial hesitation, little Nami became familiar with Hiyori and called her brother Yi. And, I became good friends with Karina. Should it be said that it is a predetermined fate? Bai held Nami's little hand and smiled. Don't underestimate him, his father is the most powerful shooter in the world. And he himself will become a brave warrior. Nami expressed disbelief. That guy looks like he likes to lie at first glance, how could he be so strong? Karina was so envious when she saw Nami holding Bai's hand. I just hate myself for not being as bold as Nami. She's early, but she didn't dare to hold Bai's other hand, because that one was Hancock's royal arm. Several people slowly came to the village, still surprising everyone. Soon, he saw Usopp hiding in the corner. Usopp. He called to Usopp. Usopp was obviously shocked. How do you know my name? His father went to sea with Shanks, his mother died of illness, and the people in this village hated him for lying. Suddenly, a stranger recognized him, which made Usopp wildly surprised. Has the name of the great sea warrior Usopp spread to other islands? Bai walked up to him. Want to meet your father Usopp? Upon hearing his father's name, Usopp immediately put away his cynical attitude. Do you know where my father is? Bai said. The red hair pirates are elusive and it is not easy to find them, but follow me and you have a chance to meet Usopp. Your father is the strongest shooter in the world. When the most respected father was praised by others, Usopp couldn't help but become arrogant. Yes. My father is the strongest. So, are you willing to come with me? Get on my ship and you will become a warrior beyond Usopp. There is no difficulty in taking Usopp away. This guy is very smart and knows that if the person in front of him wants to harm him, there is no need to talk nonsense with him. Thinking that he could finally go to the sea like his father, and was still invited to go to sea, he felt an indescribable pride in his heart. Usopp was going home to pack his luggage, so Bai took a few girls to wander around the village. This was originally what he promised Hiyori and Yamato, to visit islands around the world. The island is small and the life of the villagers is very simple. Except for Kaya's estate. Because of their stunning appearance, Kaya's father welcomed them into the villa. Bai also met the frail Miss Kaya. But now that Kaya's parents are still alive, her illness has not been aggravated by depression, and she looks like a weak little girl. Kaya also has a high impression of the handsome and sunny Bai. Sir, Miss Kaya and I are very close. Here are some fitness exercises that can help Miss Kaya stay in shape. Kaya, whose parents are still alive, naturally cannot board the ship with Bai. However, characters who can win the friendship of the protagonist group have good luck, and Bai is still happy to associate with them. But Kaya is not one of his own now, and it is impossible for him to directly teach her the practice of qi. Instead, he taught the exercises, Ba Duan Jin, and Wu Qin Shi, that were used for fitness in his previous life. In fact, these two guidance techniques can also induce the sense of energy, but the efficiency is much lower than the secret techniques of various schools. But it is enough to practice as a way to strengthen your body. Kaya's frailty comes from the pampering of her eldest daughter. She practices Daoyan. As long as the qi is unblocked, she will naturally be free from all diseases and can prolong her life. Kaya's father is very happy. No matter whether this kind of aerobics is useful or not, it is always good to practice more. Before parting, little Kaya was still a little reluctant to say goodbye. Brother Baiyi, when I grow up, can I also go to sea with you? Baiyi said, of course, but can you withstand the danger of the sea? Little Kaya has no idea about the dangers of the sea. She just said, Kaya will be brave too. I will work hard to learn medical skills. In the future, if Brother Baiyi is injured at the sea, Haoya will help you heal him. Haha, okay, I'll wait for the day when your medical skills are perfected. Baiyi said goodbye to Kaya, returned to Shiluobu village to pick up Usopp who had packed his bags, and returned to the dawn. Next, it's time to look for the orbit cruise ship. Little Sanji is hiding here. He has not yet met red-footed Zapu. As long as he praises Sanji's cooking skills and promises to prepare the most comprehensive ingredients for him, young Sanji has no difficulty. The orbit cruise ship is quite famous. It is a luxury cruise ship. After asking around, they learned about the company where the cruise ship is located. Then, after spending 100,000 belly, he learned the route of the cruise ship. The Dawn cruised all the way and found the cruise ship in the vast sea 3 days later and successfully took away little Sanji. On the daybreak, everyone didn't know why Baiyi took away this little yellow man with curly eyebrows. Don't underestimate him. With him, we will be able to eat the most delicious food in the world in the future. Baiyi's public praise made little Sanji elated, and his favorability soared. Moreover, the little girls here are so scary, and the big sisters are so beautiful. Little Sanji felt as if he had entered heaven. I am the best chef in the world, and I will be responsible for your meals from now on. He proudly swore that he could not live up to Chef Baiyi's kindness. Baiyi was very satisfied with Sanji's motivation and taught him chi cultivation methods as usual. This guy is a member of the Vinsmoke family and has a bloodline transformation factor. When its genes are awakened, they will gain the ability to exoskeleton and invisibility. The exoskeleton will make Sanji's physical body extremely tough and have recovery capabilities comparable to Zone's awakening. Even if it's a broken bone, it can tell you how to recover. And its physical strength is even comparable to armament hockey. Even Quinn's knife cannot break through the defense. Combining the two, Sanji's physical strength is simply pervert. As for his invisibility ability, it is actually through ultra-high-speed movement. As long as the speed is too fast to be captured by vision, then he is invisible in the eyes of others. In other words, after awakening, Sanji possesses extreme speed that cannot be seen with the eyes. Of course, this kind of talent must be cultivated vigorously. In order to increase Sanji's motivation, Baiyi showed how to use the capsule. Did you see this thing? Although it is small, there is a full 10 cubic meters of space inside. But it requires chi to use it. When you succeed in practicing chi, I will give you one and fill it with all the ingredients in the world. Sanji was instantly fascinated by Qishong and vowed that he would definitely master it. The addition of Sanji makes the green algae-headed Zoro always feel like an old enemy. He got on the ship earlier than Sanji. How can he let this guy get the energy first? So, Zoro, who was already training hard, worked even harder. There are still many islands in East Blue that have not been visited, but the mission time limit is only 1 year, so Baiyi can only speed up the process. Too lazy to go through Upside Down Mountain, just cross the calm belt and enter the Grand Line. Life on the ship is on the right track. The boys and girls compete with each other and their strength improves rapidly. To Zoro's relief, it was not just him who was beaten. That new yellow-haired boy is weaker than me. Although Kurina, Nami, and Noki are also weak, how could Zoro bully a few little girls who have never practiced martial arts? Although he doesn't want to bully that little yellow hair, he always provokes himself. Especially when he was defeated by Kuina, the little yellow-haired man was gloating and laughing. He is not a person who cares about other people's opinions, but for some reason, he can't stand the little yellow-haired smile. So, Zoro, who lost to Kuina, went to Sanji to vent his anger, which made Sanji swear that one day he would hold the green algae head on the ground. Baiyi got into the refining room again. This time with the materials of Baoshu Atom, he wanted to make up for the loss of Baiyi. Moreover, after coming out of the palace treasure house of Goa Kingdom, he suddenly had some bold ideas. This idea needs a black puppet to implement it. Quickly sorting out his weapon refining experience, he cut the branches of the treasure tree atom with a tool, lit the fire, and burned the meteorite iron in it. Next to it is the stone of life. It is because of the strange little stone that it can be realized. Now, he wants to use this kind of stone to reach a height that even Village Chief Ma has never reached. Various precision mechanisms gradually take shape in the hands and are installed in a body. The main material of the body is the branches of the treasure tree atom, supplemented by meteorite iron. Its hardness makes it difficult for even my own dragon saber to cut it off with one blow. The head is closed Li Lao's, the face is carefully carved by himself. It is equally handsome and miserable, but it is completely different from his own appearance. However, as long as you use chi to stimulate it, the puppet's face can change and become the same as your own. In the core of the body, the 3 skills of Earth Walking Immortal, Ghost Shadow Walking, and Phantom Body Barrier are still attached. This is a necessary skill for him to get things done. In addition, he also made a protective magic weapon for the black puppet, which can protect the body from being easily destroyed. Incorporating the principle of flying insects into the eyes allows you to share vision with them. Oral vocalization is even simpler. Shenji by Lian even includes some modern technologies. Although they are not very advanced, there are still basic knowledge such as the principles of sound. After understanding the principle, he can easily make parts that can emit various sound rays and install them in the throat of the doll by using the skill of the magic machine. Black puppets are not necessarily black. The name just represents a more advanced divine method. Incorporating sea stone into the doll's bones can not only strengthen the doll's hardness, but also provide restraint to those with abilities. Done. Bai Yi clapped his hands, and with a thought in his mind, the doll opened its eyes. No matter who looked at it, they would never think that it was a magical doll. My level of weapon refining has surpassed that of Village Chief Ma. But Vegapunk can create clones that are indistinguishable from humans, and it's not known whether it uses mechanical technology or biotechnology. There is also Seraph, which combines cloning technology, blood factor and other technologies to replicate Devil Fruit's abilities, and its strength is comparable to the original Shichibukai. This old guy is not simple. But Vegapunk is not really loyal to the world government. He has always had his own selfish motives, and Seraph only obeys his own orders. I want to communicate with this old guy when I get a chance. The so-called magic machine is a science and technology developed based on Lianji's theory, which is not inconsistent with natural science. If you can get the research results of Vegapunk, your own divine machine will be greatly improved. But these will have to be discussed later. For now, the priority is to improve our strength. Hello, my name is Bai Yi. Bai Yi smiled and stretched out his hand in front of the puppet 177, and then manipulated the puppet to speak. Master, please give Daji your orders. Oh, a bit pervert, Bai Yi even got goosebumps all over his body. Hiding the doll in the refining room, he was in a good mood. Regarding the existence of the doll, he was not prepared to tell anyone, including Hancock. In the future, many things that are inconvenient for you to do in person can be done by the doll. Like recruiting Frankie. Frankie is now 24 years old, and Tom has not yet been executed. What he wants is not just Frankie, but also Tom, the great shipwright. To fight against the world government and celestial dragons, you must develop your own power. Therefore, like Roger and Luffy, it is definitely not possible to only develop elite ships. He needs enough manpower and a large-scale fleet. This requires shipwrights, or even shipyards, to accomplish this goal. Who better to build Roger's boat than Tom? If you want to gain Frankie's allegiance, you must also start with Tom. Then, saving Tom at the moment he is about to be executed is his greatest hope. But this requires making an enemy of the B world government, and he doesn't want to be targeted before he is ready. The temperature on the route became lower and lower, and eventually, there were even snowflakes in the sky. At the port of Segu Island, a ship is anchored here. It's obviously not winter, so why is it so cold? In the cabin, a few little ones sat around the fire to keep warm. Because they had not prepared cotton-padded clothes, they were shivering from the cold. Bai Yi, Hancock, Yamato and others used chi to cover their bodies and basically achieve the essence of being invulnerable to cold and heat. Raihei has achieved a small level of chi training and has good resistance to cold. Kuina directly transforms into a human animal form, relying on thick panda fur to maintain body temperature. The other little guys were miserable. Even if they were sitting around the stove, their upper and lower teeth were still chattering from the cold. Da da da, it's so cold, da da da, brother Yi, let's go to other islands. Da da da, Master Bai Yi, it's too cold, da da da, I'll just stay on the boat. Nami, Karina and Nokigao huddled together to keep warm, not wanting to go out at all. Da da da, I'm not cold. Da da da, no. Zoro kept saying something strong, even though he was so cold that he kept banging his upper and lower teeth like drums, but he still said stubbornly that he was not cold. He even started high-intensity training in order to warm up his body. Da da da, I'm not cold either. Da da da. Little Sanji originally wanted to get closer to the fire to keep warm, but the green algae head said he wasn't cold. For some reason, he just didn't want to admit defeat in front of the green algae head. He also took the initiative to stay away from the fire and started physical training that was no less than Zoro's. But Usopp doesn't have the same self-esteem as they do. Cold is cold, and now he wants to get directly into the fire. Okay, you stay on the boat, I'll go to the island to have a look, and if I'm lucky, I'll come back and bring you a pet. Pet, Salome immediately pricked up her ears. She didn't care about these human cubs, but it would be bad if a pet took away the love from her sister and Bai Yi. Sister Sama, I want to go too. Then, Salome hugged Hancock's arm tightly, and Hancock also touched her smiling head affectionately. Anyone else want to go? Bai Yi asked everyone. Yamato, Hiyori and Kuina, the girls who can withstand the cold, all want to see the magical winter island, but if they all leave, the oldest of the remaining ones will be Qian Sui. The Nokia High. The most powerful one is little Zoro. It's also very unsettling. Okay, I'll go to the island to buy some cotton clothes, and then we'll go to the island together. You haven't seen such a strange sight before, right? Bai Yi told him his plan and at the same time summoned 3 ruhua from his pocket. This was done by the way after he finished making black puppets. It can not only help with cleaning, but also play a role as a guard. Although their combat power is not as good as that of the black puppets, their combat power is no less than that of Krieg. It is enough to guard the ship and drag it until his reinforcements come back. Moreover, there is a black puppet lurking in the cabin, a pirate in the paradise, but no one is the opponent of the black puppet. Except Lao Sha. Bai Yi landed on Drum Island with Hancock and Salome. Although the villagers on the island live in heavy snow all day long, they can barely achieve the level of food and clothing. The Iron Bucket Kingdom on the island is a major medical power. It has the most famous doctors in the world and the best medical conditions. Many outsiders also come to Sugu Island to seek medical treatment, which undoubtedly provides island residents with more opportunities to make money. It is now C Circle Calendar 1510, and Wapol should still be a prince. This is also an important reason why the islanders can barely make do with their lives. As soon as I arrived at a village, I saw it decorated with lanterns and banners. When I stepped forward to see it, it turned out that the Miss Universe competition had come to Drum Island. The Miss Universe competition is a relatively important competition in the world of pirates, with a large number of viewers and an equally large number of participants. Beautiful women, no matter in any world, are always extremely popular. As long as you think you have an outstanding figure and good looks, you can sign up for the pre-selection in your hometown. After pre-selection, the competition will send these beautiful girls to perform around the world. Finally, the champion will be selected through the votes of people around the world. Once she becomes the champion, the girl's worth will immediately rise. Even becoming a princess is not a problem. There is no TV or internet in this world, and there are very few entertainment options for ordinary people. Therefore, as soon as the Miss Universe contest arrived, it immediately aroused great enthusiasm among all men. Bai Yi doesn't care about this kind of performance. He has only one purpose here, and that is to find Chopper. Of course, now he needs enough immunity to keep the little ones warm. Uncle, where is the clothing store here? Bai Yi stopped a middle-aged man. This man has rough skin and simple appearance. He is an ordinary local worker. The man turned around and immediately showed a surprised expression when he saw a few people. Bai Yi was wearing single clothes, his hair that was already shawl was tied into a small ponytail, and there were a string of red beads on each of his bare feet. Hancock was wearing a slim-fitting cheongsam and came barefoot. The two of them interlocked their fingers. They looked like a couple of gods and goddesses. Salome, who was holding Hancock's other arm, had a pair of million horns on her head, and was dressed in a maid outfit that was alluring. She has a face similar to Hancock's and is equally beautiful. The man swallowed unconsciously. He swore that he had never seen such a beautiful woman. Even the so-called Miss Universe champion would be eclipsed in front of these two women. Not only is the woman beautiful, that man is also incredibly good-looking. Are you here to participate in the competition? He took it for granted that such a beauty should naturally participate in the Miss Universe competition, and he dared to assert that these two people would definitely win the first and second place. Pizza. Bai Yi was stunned for a moment before understanding what he meant, and explained with a smile, "No, we are guests passing by and want to buy some cotton coats." Oh, the man suddenly thought to himself, they are wearing such thin clothes, how come they don't seem to feel cold at all? Go forward from here, turn right, there is a market, and there is a clothing store there. The man enthusiastically showed them the way, but his eyes kept wandering around Hancock and Salome. They have long been accustomed to this kind of look. You can't even prevent people from looking at it, can you still dig out everyone's eyes? Thanking the man, they followed the route pointed out by the man. Sure enough, in a small market, there was a small clothing store opened here. This is just a village, and there is only one clothing store. Stepping in, they were all of ordinary styles. According to the figures of the little guys, he bought a few pieces and planned to leave. As soon as I left the clothing store, I met two women. The two women were wrapped in thick winter clothes, but even so, through their beautiful faces, it could still be seen that both of them were rare beauties. Canderella, it's all your fault. What are you doing in this kind of country? Can't we keep warm in the Royal City Hotel? This island is too cold. Another woman was about to answer when she suddenly saw Bai Yi and others walking out of the clothing store. Her eyes were immediately attracted to Bai Yi. A heart pounding. There are such good-looking men in the world. Hey, Canderella, what are you looking at? When the woman saw that her companion was ignoring her, she was about to get angry when she followed her companion's gaze and saw Bai Yi, who looked like a banished immortal. Gulu, she swallowed. This man is so good-looking, I want to get him. Seeing Bai Yi leaving, they unexpectedly followed him. Hancock frowned. She knew about Bai Yi's charm. Other women were attracted to Bai Yi. She had no choice but to follow him blatantly. She didn't take her seriously, the Nine Snakes Emperor. He tilted his head slightly, majesty emanating from his pupils. Even if Conqueror's Haki was not released, the Emperor's power and the strong man's domineering power still shocked the two women who followed him. After they walked away, the two women came back to their senses. Oh my God, who is that woman? It felt like she was going to kill us just now. They patted their chests in fear, but they were also annoyed that they were easily intimidated by others. HMPH. What, isn't she also a woman? Canderella was a little angry. Go back and find out who they are. I must get this man. But her companion was a little worried. Looking at their costumes, they look very extraordinary. It would be bad if they get kicked. Besides, isn't our goal to marry into a rich family? There was only madness in Canderella's eyes. What does a wealthy family mean? Even if you are a princess, what does it mean? If you can have a romantic night with that man, I will die immediately. On the dawn, Bai Yi distributed cotton-padded clothes to several little guys. Nami and others immediately began to choose their favorite styles, only Zoro was still competing with Sanji. Hey, if you don't wear it, we're leaving. The two stopped fighting and put on their cotton clothes. Stepping out of the daybreak, we stepped on the thick snow. Although everyone has seen snow, they have never seen such thick snow. As soon as they landed, several little girls had a snowball fight like a joy. Brother Yi, why aren't you afraid of the cold? After playing around for a while, Nami came to hold Bai Yi's hand again, raised her head and asked her doubtful questions. Bai Yi wrapped a ball of chi on his palm and covered Nami's body. Because of chi, when you succeed in practicing chi, you will no longer be afraid of cold and heat. 0.0. So is this the benefit of practicing chi? The little ones are more determined to work hard and must practice harder. Everyone entered the village and looked around curiously, while Bai Yi asked the villagers if there were any strange creatures here. Strange creatures? We don't have any here, but I heard that there seems to be monsters near Drum City. Bai Yi nodded secretly. The monster was most likely Chopper, who was regarded as Yukio after eating the Renren fruit. Chopper was born in C Circle calendar 1505 and is only 5 years old. It seems that he ate devil fruit quite early. If Salome hadn't found the devil fruit in the form of a maid, it might have been too late to grab Chopper. However, he has always had a strange feeling about Chopper's fruit. Zone can turn the user into this animal, but after Chopper eats the Renren fruit, its beast form is just a humanoid monster, not a human, which is very strange. Could it be that Chopper's fruit is not actually everyone's fruit? In other words, is it another form of the Renren fruit, rather than the common people form? This can be studied in the future to see if there is any potential for development. After asking the villagers for the way to Segu City, he led everyone in the direction of Segu City day and night. On the way, Nami asked curiously, "Brother Yi, why are you looking for that monster?" Bai Yi smiled and said, "Don't you think it's interesting?" The big rabbit Labang, who was as strong as a white bear, was shocked by Bai Yi conquerors, and they all fainted to the ground. Hiyori said, "Brother Yi, aren't these the monsters you mentioned?" Bai Yi shook his head. "What are these? What I'm looking for is a reindeer that can turn into a human." "Can you become a human?" Everyone was excited for a moment and then thought of Salome. Karina was the first to ask, "Master Bai Yi, did you eat devil fruit like Sister Salome?" Even Salome strained her ears to hear the result. Bai Yi looked sideways. The little girl was really smart. "Yes, I will make it your pet after I catch it." The group of people successfully arrived at the foot of the cliff and looked up at the 5,000-meter high cliff. If you want to go to Segu City, there must be more than this way. However, Bai Yi's trip was not just to find Chopper. 533 said to Zoro and Sanji, "This cliff is your practice. If you can successfully climb to the top, I will reward you." How is it possible on such a high cliff? Little Sanji looked astonished, and he inevitably retreated in his heart. Was Zoro ever afraid of beating him? He immediately agreed. "No problem. It's just a cliff." Seeing that Zoro was not afraid, little Sanji refused to admit defeat and said loudly, "I can do it too." But Bai Yi did not let the two climb with bare hands, but gave them each a mountaineering pick. "Brother Yi, where are we?" Hiyori asked. Bai Yi glanced at her and almost forgot about her, then handed her a mountaineering pickaxe. "You and them, and Kuina, the 4 of you together." But being older than these two people and having been tutored by Bai Yi for a longer time, Hiyori is even less likely to admit defeat. Looking at each other with Kuina, the two girls knocked their climbing picks on the cliff at the same time and started climbing up. Then, 8 flying knives flew out of Bai Yi's bag and landed at his, Hancock, Yamato and Salome's feet respectively. "Let's go up on the flying knives." The little guy who was climbing had a look of resentment in his eyes. But Yamato said excitedly, "I'm with them too. And, I don't need a mountaineering pickaxe." "Okay." Bai Yi shrugged and let her go. Moreover, Yamato can also ensure the safety of these little ones. Lifting Usopp with one hand and holding Nami with the other, he stepped forward and stepped on the 2 flying knives. Salome picked up Karina and Nokigao, and also stepped on the flying knives. Hancock was not carrying any weight and followed closely beside him. Walking around the object, the 3 of them arrived at the top of the cliff in an instant, placed a few little guys on the ground, and flew back down the mountain with flying knives, following closely behind the people who were climbing. Yamato took the lead and jumped up like a big monkey. Her big mouth god controls the ice, giving her a physique that is not afraid of the cold. Coupled with her already strong strength, the cliff is no problem in front of her. Followed closely by Kuina, the powerful physique given by the devil fruit has surpassed Hiyori, who had practiced chi in advance. Behind them are Hiyori, Zoro, and Sanji. Hiyori covered her body with chi to resist the cold wind, and climbed up little by little. The cold wind blew into her collar, and a shallow scar was faintly visible. That was the scar she got from fighting the pirates. The pampered princess in the past is now gradually growing into an excellent warrior. Zoro was as stubborn as ever. Even if he was exhausted and freezing, he never thought of giving up. Gritting his teeth, looking at the distant mountain top, he worked tirelessly. At the back of the pack is Sanji. When he was young, he didn't like fighting, and his physique was even worse than Zoro's. But Bai Yi knows that Sanji has a pervert bloodline factor in his body. Once activated, he will be completely transformed. Although in the original drama, he only activated the blood factor after getting the battle suit, since it is genetic modification, it means that this ability already exists in his body. Even without the battle suit, there must be a possibility to activate it. Yamato quickly reached the top of the mountain. One day later, Kuina and Hiyori reached the summit one after another. The moment the two climbed onto the cliff, they collapsed on the ground and gasped for air. Their whole bodies were sore and it was extremely cold, but when they reached the top, they both felt a huge sense of accomplishment. Zoro and Sanji were almost delirious, but they still refused to give up. It was after midnight again. Sanji was exhausted, unable to hold on to the rock, and fell from the air. Bai Yi followed immediately and caught Vice Admiral in midair. "I'm sorry, brother Bai Yi, I can't do it anymore." Sanji apologized softly. He felt that he was so useless. The head was obviously as big as himself, but he still persisted. Those cute girls had also pushed him, and he was the only one who failed. "It doesn't matter, you've done a good job." Bai Yi comforted him, came to Zoro, and asked, "Do you want to continue?" Zoro, who was no longer conscious, still refused to give up. "No, I can still do it." He quickly sent Sanji to the top of the mountain and continued to stay with Zoro day and night. Along the way, Zoro almost missed several times, but he caught the stone next to him in time. His hands were bruised and the blood flowing out was frozen, but he still refused to give up. Even though his spirit has fallen into a semi-conscious state, he still has to climb up. Pay attention to your breathing and feel the rise and fall of the chi in your body. This vague voice sounded in Zoro's mind, and his body still fluctuated in a special trajectory. Chi enters the meridians from his mouth and nose, travels around the sky, and repairs his exhausted body. Bai Yi looked surprised. Sure enough, he is worthy of being the second male lead, all of this is fine. One day later, a delirious Zoro climbed to the top of the cliff. The moment he hit the ground, his body tilted and he fell completely to the ground. Sanji, who had already eaten, looked at this scene with a complex expression. He had to admit that this green algae head had far more perseverance than himself. "Let's rest here for a day and wait for Zoro to wake up." They have already set up tents, Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp. Kalika, Nochigao, Nami, Yamato, Hiyori and Salome. Bai Yi in Hancock's room. At night, Bai Yi's ears suddenly moved while he was sleeping, and he opened his eyes suddenly. Gently taking Hancock's arm away from his body, he put on his single clothes and walked out of the tent. Not far away is a forest, covered with snow. The snow reflects the moonlight, allowing good visibility even in the dark night. Between those trees, there is a pair of black pupils, and the owner of the pupils is a hairy monster like a savage. When he saw someone walking out of the tent, he immediately retracted his head, leaving only his body outside. Chopper. Bai Yi stood where he was. This image could only be Chopper in human form. "I didn't expect that I would be so lucky. I had just climbed the cliff and met Chopper before entering Drum City." Stepping forward, Chopper saw him coming and slowly backed away. He tried to contact humans, but humans regarded him as a monster. But fortunately, at this time, he was not completely desperate, nor was he scarred by humans. When Bai Yi took out a piece of bread and tried to hand it to him, he hesitated for a moment and then tentatively stepped forward. 2 steps. When he saw that Bai Yi didn't mean to hurt him, he took the bread and ate it. Of course Bai Yi prepared the bread in advance, and he doesn't eat bread himself. In fact, Chopper will also eat meat after eating the renren fruit, but because of his body, he still prefers vegetarian food. "My name is Bai Yi, what's your name?" Bai Yi looked up at him. Chopper was still very tall in human form. "Me," Chopper spoke, and his intuition told him that this human being was different from those he had encountered before. He was a good person. "I don't have a name." He wolfed down the last piece of bread. He hadn't eaten decent food in a long time. If he hadn't been a reindeer and could eat grass, he might have starved to death. "Where is your family?" Bai Yi asked knowingly and started chatting with Chopper. As the conversation progressed, Chopper also completely let down his guard. Being young and innocent, he had already regarded Bai Yi as his best friend. So you are a reindeer. Bai Yi smiled and explained to him. The fruit you eat is called devil fruit by us, and you can gain various magical abilities by eating it. Among my companions, there is a water snake who ate the ren fruit. She is very cute. Hearing Bai Yi say that there were animals eating that strange fruit like him, he immediately became interested. Really, can you accept her? Bai Yi smiled and said, of course. She used to be my wife's pet, but now, she is my wife's favorite sister. We all like her very much. Chopper's eyes were full of longing, how he wished he could be accepted. Regardless of reindeer or humans, they all regard it as an alien. You should also join my fleet and go to see the outside world. Bai Yi extended an invitation to him. Me, Chopper was still a little hesitant. Is it really okay? Of course. Bai Yi stretched out his palm, shaking hands as a courtesy for us humans. If we shake hands, we will become friends. Chopper hesitated, stretched out his big hairy hand, and held Bai Yi's hand. Really human hands. He has been rejected for so many years since he was born, and finally some humans are willing to accept him. Chopper's eyes gradually became moist, and at this moment, he had a sense of mission. A scholar dies for his confidant. From now on, he will dedicate everything to the human being in front of him. Seeing Chopper with tears in his eyes, Bai Yi reached out to wipe away his tears. Although he looks big in human form, in fact, he is just a 5-year-old child. Woo! After his tears were wiped away, Chopper suddenly transformed into a small human animal form like a civet cat, threw himself into Bai Yi's arms and cried loudly. He took out some more food and handed it to Chopper, and then the two of them squatted on the snow and talked all night. Chopper, who was communicating with humans for the first time, seemed to have countless things on his mind that he wanted to talk about. You are a reindeer with strong antlers that can cut down trees. From now on, you will be called Chopper. Tony Chopper. Bai Yi still gave him his original name, and Chopper said happily. Thank you, Master Bai Yi. I have a name. When the morning sun illuminates the world, everyone in their sleep gradually gets up. When they walked out of the tent and saw the civet-like Chopper in front of Bai Yi, they all couldn't help but walked over in surprise. Chopper, who was afraid of strangers, immediately hid behind Bai Yi, but he only hid his head and his body was still outside. What is this little thing? Hiyori poked the back of Chopper's head curiously, causing Chopper to jump up. Don't be afraid, you will be their companion from now on. Bai Yi brought Chopper to the crowd and introduced them. He is Chopper, a reindeer who ate everyone's fruit. Only then did everyone know that this was the monster Bai Yi was looking for. Fruit for everyone. Why does it look different from Sister Salome? Karina boldly walked into Chopper. No matter how she looked at it, she couldn't relate to anyone like this. She is Salome. Pointing at Salome, she said to Chopper, she, like you, also eats the fruit of everyone. Salome looked at Chopper warily. Is this Mr. Bai Yi's new pet? She can't be compared with him. Her body shape changed and she returned to her true form. The huge water snake scared Chopper so much that he jumped 3 feet high. Snake. What a big snake. Didn't you tell him before that Salome was a snake? Why did you react so badly? Salome vomited the serpent in a show-off manner, and when she saw Chopper was so frightened that she almost peed, she transformed back into her maid form. Seeing Salome's transformation, Chopper also believed all this, but why could she become exactly like a human? The only differences are the slightly pointed teeth and the horns on the head. Looking at himself again, he couldn't help but feel discouraged. Is what he ate really the fruit of everyone? Fortunately, everyone here can accept him and treat him as a companion, instead of treating him as a monster like the people on Drum Island. With his cute appearance, Chopper quickly got along with everyone. After having breakfast together, everyone walked away together, while Bai Yi and Hancock Salome stayed at the tent. Because Zoro is still unconscious. Zoro, who is only 9 years old, climbed a 5,000-meter high cliff. This is definitely a miracle. Moreover, during the climb, Zoro became the first among this group of little guys to get the sense of energy. Bai Yi believes that with his intervention, Zoro's growth rate will at least double. At least 3 years ahead of schedule, it reaches the level of the battle against Jin in the original show. In the distance, Chopper serves as a guide and takes everyone to visit places he is familiar with. Although every place left only painful memories for him, at this moment, revisiting the old place feels completely different. Are you that kind of reindeer too? Nokigao asked Chopper, pointing to a group of reindeer ahead. Chopper took everyone to the place where he was born. Here are his parents and his people. But he was kicked out of the tribe because of his natural blue nose. Now looking at the deer from a distance, I feel mixed emotions. But looking at the humans around him, he thought proudly, so what if you kick me out? I also have companions. And I also have a name. Huh, what is that? Suddenly, sharp-eyed Hiyori saw a strange fruit growing on the grass at the feet of a majestic reindeer. The fruit was as white as snow, with circles of silver patterns on its surface. It falls in the snow and is extremely difficult to find. Curious, she blinked her eyes and watched carefully. Finally, she exclaimed, "Devil fruit. It's devil fruit." Just as the reindeer was about to eat the devil fruit, suddenly, another reindeer with huge antlers came next to him. He barked, lowered his head and pointed at the devil fruit with his antlers. Only reindeer. They are going to duel. But no one cared about the reindeer duel. After passing Hiyori's figure, they also saw the white fruit that shone with silver light. At this moment, the fruit is under the reindeer's hoof, and the charging reindeer is about to step on it. Everyone was heartbroken. That was devil fruit. Was it going to be trampled to pieces like this? By the way, are fruits that have been trampled on are still useful? Suddenly, there was a whooshing sound, and a figure rushed out. In an instant, he came to the feet of the reindeer and took the devil fruit in his hand. Because of her sudden appearance, two reindeer pressed against her one after the other. However, the girl remained motionless while the reindeer was shocked and dizzy. Great, Sister Yamato saved the fruit. The little girls cheered. Yamato took the fruit back and the curious people passed it around one by one. If this fruit is a pear, it is all white, just like the white snow. The circles of silver lines among them add to its mystery. What kind of fruit is this? Go back to my brother and get the illustrated book to look at. Let me tell you secretly, Brother Yi still has 2 devil fruits in his collection. After seeing Yamato and Kuina's devil fruit abilities, they are very greedy for devil fruit. However, Bai Yi had to distribute the fruit to whom, and they did not dare to eat it privately. Return to the camp and show the devil fruit to Bai Yi. Bai Yi was surprised. These guys are so lucky. It's so easy to find a devil fruit. But according to their description, if no one intervenes, the fruit will be crushed by 2 dueling reindeer. In this way, this fruit should be an ability that has never appeared in the original drama. Opening the fruit illustrated book, everyone sat together and searched page after page. Finally, I saw its name in Zone's illustrated book. Bear fruit polar bear form. Bear fruit again. Bai Yi feels that he and Shang are quite destined. Polar bears, I wonder if they can control ice and snow. Although Zone's normal species generally do not have additional abilities, it is not absolute. For example, the third sister Mary, her snake fruit, cobra form, not only has poison, but can also bring fire. Sure enough, even the dogs won't eat the Mara fruit. Therefore, he would not be surprised at all if polar bears could control the wind and snow. Of course, this possibility is very low. Otherwise, other Arctic foxes, snow leopards, penguins, etc., wouldn't they also have this ability? Hiyori was the one who discovered the fruit, and Yamato was the one who grabbed the fruit. But Yamato already has the power of the fruit, but do you want to eat it? Bai Yi thought for a while and came up with a fairer distribution principle. Hiyori looked at the fruit in confusion. He really wanted to give it to me. However, thinking of the agreement between the two of them, she still shook her head. No. I want to eat the same phantom beast species as Yamato. The two of them agreed that as long as she could obtain a phantom beast seed on her own, Bai Yi would give Tian Yuzan to her permanently. Hiyori doesn't want to eat, but the others still have some cravings. But Nami and others from the original protagonist group also set such a goal for themselves after hearing about the fantasy beast species. If you eat devil fruit, eat the most powerful one. But Karina and Nuo Chigao didn't have so many requirements. After seeing Kuina's strength, they were very greedy for this ability. But Bai Yi didn't ask them, but collected the fruits. If you want results, let me see your efforts and achievements. Another day later, Long Feng woke up from the coma. At this moment, he only felt sore all over his body, but there was a gentle energy swimming in his body. That's Qi. Qi taught by Bai Yi. After the excitement, an extremely strong sense of hunger hit. Bai Yi handed over a large piece of Sea King's meat at the right time, and little Zoro immediately devoured it. After the meal, everyone packed up to meet the enemy, washed the tents and returned them to Shixiang, and then walked towards Sugu City together. There are a large number of guards guarding the entrance of Sugu City on both sides. Because the Miss Universe contest came to Sugu Island, many outsiders and residents outside Sugu City came to watch this performance in the royal city. Those beauties were selected from all over the world, the best they would never see in their lifetime. Several people walked into the city, and their stunning faces made all the guards look at them. Bai Yi and Hancock are used to this kind of sight. Yamato and Yuka are almost immune to it. But Karina and others always feel weird. The appearance and temperament are outstanding. Bai Yi and Hancock, the leaders, only wear single clothes, and Yamato even has bare shoulders. For the first time, Bai Yi, and Raihei all had long knives on their waists, and Yamato had a huge mace hanging on his back, indicating that these people were not easy to mess with. A receptionist at the reception desk quickly came forward to ask for their identities. After this question, I was even more shocked. The Emperor of Amazon Lilies. He is just an ordinary official in the Tetong Kingdom and does not know that there is a daughter country far away in the sea. But the word emperor carries great weight. He welcomed several people in with a flattering look on his face and immediately reported it to the senior officials of Tetong Kingdom. It is a big event for the emperor of a country to come in person. The emperor of the Tetong Kingdom must also come to receive him. Otherwise, it is more likely to cause war between the two countries if he is disrespectful to other countries. Exclamation mark. In the Sugu City Palace, a middle-aged man wearing a crisp suit listened to the description of a beautiful woman and said calmly, "Candrella, are you serious about this?" The woman said, "Seriously. If you can capture that woman, you will definitely be able to sell her for a good price. As long as you can help me get that man, I will be yours tonight." The middle-aged man nodded and glanced greedily at the woman. This woman is a woman favored by another big shot. If he wants to use her to make a deal, he cannot be her subordinate. But if she brought it up herself, it would be another matter. After letting the woman go down, he thought for a while and then came to the palace. At this moment, a young man with a shy face and a short and fat body was having fun with the maid. When he saw this man coming in, he was a little dissatisfied. These beautiful women, this man actually refused to let him get involved. You know, who is he? He is the prince, crown prince, Wapol of this kingdom. Here, he can't get what he wants. But his father said that this person represented a powerful force and could not be offended, and even allowed him to enter and leave the palace freely. This made him very unhappy. "Oliver, what are you doing here?" Oliver sneered. If this loser didn't rely on a good family background, he would be nothing but shit in front of him. But this sneer only lasted for a moment. When he raised his head, it was already a standard smiling face. "Your Highness, the Miss Universe Zhao Zhao's election must be fair and just, and we must ensure the safety of every lady. However, if you want beauties, there are plenty of them in this ocean. Moreover, one has already come to Sixi Gucheng, and also the queen of a country. But as the crown prince of the Iron Bucket Kingdom and the future king, you are a perfect match for her. Would it be better to propose marriage to her? Moreover, this woman is known as the most beautiful woman in the sea. Only such a woman can be worthy of her status." When Wapol heard this, he immediately became interested and asked quickly, "Where is she?" Oliver curled his lips and was about to answer when he saw a waiter walking in and said to Wapol, "Your Highness, Your Majesty has asked you to welcome the Emperor of Amazon Lily together. Isn't this coming?" Wapol immediately understood what Oliver meant, became very interested, and quickly followed the waiter to the front hall. When Bai Yi and others arrived at the gate of King Tetong's palace, the king had already led a group of people waiting here. "Ha, I've heard for a long time that the Emperor of Amazon Lily is charming and graceful. When I saw him today, it turned out to be true." Dickens came to greet Hancock with a big smile. When he saw Hancock, he realized that being famous is not as good as meeting, and meeting is worse than being famous. Regarding Dickens's compliment, Hancock did not comment, but simply waved his hand, with a haughty look that made Dickens a little unhappy. But out of shame, he did not have an attack. But behind him, a wretched-looking young man looked at Hancock and Yamato, his mouth almost drooling. He immediately said to Dickens, "Father, I want these women." Dickens's face suddenly changed. If he said such rude words to the queen of a country, he would definitely arouse the anger of the other party. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, Hancock was furious. Not only Hancock, Bai Yi was also furious. Immediately a picture was taken, and a big handprint fell towards Navapal. The two sides were so close, how could he escape? The corners of Oliver's eyes twitched. He who was following Wapol noticed Bai Yi's movement, but he quietly moved a step back. Boom! Flash and blood splattered. Wapol was smashed to pieces by a palm strike. He was so shattered that there was no way to revive him except in pure world reincarnation. Dickens was astonished, the queen was astonished, the ministers of the kingdom were astonished, the guards were astonished, and after a brief astonishment, the maids let out ear-piercing screams. "How dare you kill my son?" Dickens was furious. He kindly came to greet the emperor of the daughter kingdom. Although his son said a disrespectful word, his crime would not lead to death. But that man slapped her into bloody foam without saying a word. "Catch them." Dickens's chest shook violently with anger. His queen, Wapol's mother, had already burst into tears. While crying, she shouted, "Kill them! Kill them!" A large group of guards drew their sabers and came towards them. Before Bai Yi could take action, Yamato had already drawn the mace from his back and rushed out first. With her taking action, these kingdom guards were no more than lambs to be slaughtered and were wiped out in an instant. Dickens was frightened, and then he remembered that these people in front of him not only represented the daughter country, but also represented great pirates and powerful force. She is 7 warlords of the sea. In panic, when he saw Oliver next to him, it was as if he had grasped a life-saving straw and quickly asked him for help. "Mr. Oliver, save me. As long as you take down these murderers, I am willing to pay 10 million Baileys." But Oliver said loudly, 100 million. Dickens was angry. "What? 100 million, why don't you grab it?" But seeing Bai Yi's joking eyes, he had to grit his teeth and said, "Okay. 100 million. As long as you take them down, I will pay you 100 million. Oliver smiled and nodded. He slowly took off his gloves and came to Bai Yi. Bai Yi, the husband of Amazon Lily Emperor Boa Hancock, is suspected of stealing op fruit and can escape Marine's eyes and ears, but you should never offend the underground world. Do you know how much the bounty offered by the underground world is? 500 million. A full 500 million. Originally, I had no reason to arrest you, but you dared to kill another prince, haha. It's my turn to be rich and rich, too, for me, Oliver." Seeing his arrogant advance, Yamato frowned and stood in front of him. "Only you. How dare you cause trouble for Bai Yi?" The mace hit the ground heavily, but Lever didn't panic at all. "I know you are all very strong. If you fight alone, I may not be your opponent, but I am also a person with abilities." As the words fell, a semicircular cover suddenly appeared, expelling Yamato and covering him and Bai Yi inside. Sudden changes, day and night work hard. This scene is somewhat similar to the Colosseum in ancient Rome. He and Oliver are located in a very large venue. There was no audience on the surrounding high platforms. Oliver waved his hand, and a weapons rack fell to the ground. He pulled out a giant sword from it, whistled again, and his body was covered by armor. "This is my ability, the gladiatorial fruit. My gladiatorial fruit can create a gladiatorial arena, pulling me and a designated enemy into it. This arena will only be lifted if one party dies." He doesn't understand at all that villains die from talking too much, and he shows off his abilities. "Beep. As long as I enter here, as the initiator of the gladiatorial battle, I will be fully armed, and I can let the other party have a random ability sealed. No matter whether you get the op fruit or not, as long as the fruit ability, hockey, swordsmanship, etc. are sealed, how much combat power do you still have? And me?" Oliver's muscles suddenly bulged exaggeratedly. "I will gain a random ability enhancement here. Now, I have gained a tenfold increase in strength, how can you fight with me?" Oliver laughed wildly. "Moreover, this is a confined space, and your companions outside can't see what's going on here. After I kill you, I'll kill them one by one. Forced to fight to the death, the enemy is weakened and he is strengthened. He has relied on this fruit ability to kill many strong men who are stronger than himself. Moreover, every time he kills someone with this ability, his physical fitness will be improved to a certain extent. Relying on this fruit ability, he quickly became a strong man. Bai Yi listened quietly to his story. It turned out that in addition to the appearing characters, there were so many hidden ability users. Their abilities were all kinds of strange, but what they didn't know was that they themselves hang up, randomly seal an ability. He felt it, and found out that his ability was indeed sealed, and it was Zhu Ling sending general. However, here, there is no need for him to dispatch generals. Seeing Oliver's arrogant expression, he sighed helplessly. After finally being cleared of the suspicion of obtaining the op-op fruit, he rarely used the op-op fruit ability when fighting outside. If he wanted to use it, he would try to kill all the attackers. When the op-op fruit is eaten, Marine will indeed not continue to search for this person. He also killed Rosinante, who knows what Sengoku will do as a result. For such a big or small thing, Sengoku might find a reason to do something big for himself. But it's different here. Fighting space. Outsiders can't see what's going on inside. That's just right. It's been a long time since he fought with all his strength. The beads on the wrists and ankles cover the whole body, and Wudogai instantly envelopes himself. The phantom barrier was activated, and he suddenly disappeared from Oliver's eyes. The ghost walked down, came to Oliver in an instant, pulled out the dragon from his waist, and slashed at Oliver's neck. Oliver was shocked, but fortunately he was not weak in seeing and hearing, so he blocked it with his giant sword at the critical moment. Clang! Bai Yi has a very strong physique, and his fairy boy life has given him natural supernatural powers, but he is still shocked by Oliver. It is indeed a tenfold increase in strength. But it's not over yet. With his left hand, he struck out with the great compassionate hand, and the Julong split into 19 fragments. A 3-inch long flying knife stabbed his eyeball, while the other blades scraped at parts of his body that were not covered by armor. Where has Oliver seen this trick before? It was a rush to deal with. Suddenly, an invisible room transparent cover appeared. Bai Yi exchanged positions with a blade, the dragon slashed down, and Oliver's head rolled down. The whole process takes less than 3 seconds. Is strength useless? He has no chance to show it. The moment the head hit the ground, the entire arena fell apart. Everyone outside only saw a black cover suddenly appear, and Oliver and Bai Yi disappeared at the same time. When he was at a loss, the cover suddenly disappeared again. Oliver's body and head were separated, and Bai Yi slowly returned the knife to its sheath. Oliver is dead. Dickens was so frightened that he almost knelt down when he saw Bai Yi's cold eyes. But Bai Yi didn't say anything more to him. Turn around and leave with Hancock and others. Yu Yu's words came. Your son made rude remarks first, so I punished you. Because your etiquette is quite considerate, we will not embarrass you, but if you continue to pester, you will declare war on us. Dickens watched Bai Yi and others leave for a long time before sighing. He always had a son. Although this son was a bastard, he was still his son. Now, he was killed because of his stubborn character. That's all. He felt exhausted and returned to the palace exhausted. In the palace where the Miss Universes live, Oliver's deputy was first shocked and then overjoyed when he heard the news of Oliver's death. He can finally take over. What he didn't notice was that a beautiful girl's legs became weak after hearing the news. Such a powerful Oliver died like this. That man was too strong. Will he cause trouble for me? Bai Yi didn't know the details behind this at all. There were too many conflicts caused by his or Hancock's appearance, and he was too lazy to delve into the reasons. In the final analysis, this world still needs strength. Bai Yi, why don't you kill them? For Hancock, if anyone offends him, he should kill them all, but Bai Yi only killed the disgusting prince and a tournament director, which was not in line with his style. Bai Yi said, Dickens had a good reputation when he was on the throne. If he were to be killed, it would be difficult for the world government to explain it. We have finally settled the accusations from the Kingdom of Goa. It is better to keep a low profile recently. This is also the reason why he specifically threatened. If Dickens had left it at that, it would have been as if nothing had happened. If Dickens dared to complain to the world government, he would let Dickens know the consequences of making him angry. Of course, he did not want to let Dickens go easily. However, now that the black puppet has been made, you no longer need to do these dirty jobs yourself. He stands in the light and is a good citizen, and the darkness has its own doll walking in it. Returning to the dawn, the ship was not attacked. He also taught Chopper the practice method. After asking about his ambition, perhaps influenced by the medical power of Drum Island, Chopper's dream is still to be a doctor. Bai Yi promised to find medical books for him. After you get both hands in the future, you can also consider teaching Chopper as appropriate. The next stop on Drum Island is Alabasta, but Robin has not yet entered the Grand Line from West Blue, and is not in a hurry to contact Vivi and others. He asked Salome to sail straight to the capital of Seven Waters. Not long after Zoro gained Chi Sense, his strength improved rapidly, and he could even initially use armament Haki, although Haki did not cover much area and was not strong enough. Under his encouragement, Kuina also gained the Chi Sense, but the others still haven't started yet. Regardless of whether the pirate groups encountered on the road would attack them or not, Bai Yi would pass by the boat and let Hiyori and others leave. With Yamato holding the battle, these pirates can only be reduced to experience packs. Bai Yi himself went into the refining room again to study the expansion plan of the capsule space. A month later, when the ship arrived at the capital of Seven Rivers, Bai Yi finally completed the first improvement of the capsule. Letting others land first, he sailed to a secluded corner of the sea, pocketed the Dawn, and then swam to the shore to join the others. The moment he landed, an invisible figure emerged from the capsule and quietly went in another direction. That's a puppet. In the doll's capsule, there is a power device, a Seastone air film device, and a large number of Baileys. With this doll, he can completely hide himself, develop his power, and attract Marine's desire for world government to the doll. After meeting everyone, he did not immediately go to the shipyard to find Tom and Frankie. This island is also a wonder in the entire pirate world. Since he came to this world in person, of course he wanted to have a good time. At this time, the city of Seven Waters was still very peaceful. There was no Frankie family, no CP agents lurking, it was just a prosperous city. They traveled around by boat, tasted local delicacies, and unknowingly arrived at the huge shipyard. The shipyard here is so big. There are many ships, even bigger than our Dawn Star. The little ones were surprised by the scale of the shipyard. Even Hancock had seen the North Blue shipyard and felt that compared with the capital of the Seven Waters, the North Blue shipyard was really not on the table. But Bai Yi knew that the best shipwright was not here. He was wandering aimlessly, but he was actually going to the garbage dump. Because Tom is there. In the garbage dump, a blue-haired boy was using tools to transform the waste materials in the garbage dump, without noticing Bai Yi and others walking towards them. Are you going to build a maritime weapon? When Bai Yi's words reached his ears, Frankie looked up in surprise. He was just halfway through the work. How could this person see his design plan? Bai Yi smiled, surprised by the weapon refining, and the modification of the Daybreak. He also had a certain understanding of ship manufacturing. I casually mentioned a few points that Frankie ignored. After Frankie modified it according to his instructions, the functionality was much better than his previous design. My little brother has such strong shipbuilding skills. Frankie's feelings about Bai Yi changed immediately. He is 24 years old this year, 5 years older than Bai Yi, so it is reasonable to call Bai Yi little brother. Bai Yi communicated with him about the concept of weapon refining, which made Frankie feel as if he had opened a new door. Just as the two were chatting happily, footsteps came from behind. Fram, you made such a thing again. Master knows it's time to scold you again. The visitor is Asbagu, also known as Mr. Iceberg. Flucci, who had always been at odds with his ideas, immediately responded, that useless thing is a child's toy. Real men should build battleships. Asbagu was too lazy to argue with him. Seeing Bai Yi standing next to him, he asked, I wonder who this gentleman is. Because Mr. Tom was driven to the garbage dump, they are very disliked here, and almost no one will talk to them. Bai Yi's group seemed particularly abrupt. Frankie immediately introduced, he is also a great shipwright. Moreover, he has many ideas that the master does not know. Oh, Asbagu felt strange. Although Frankie likes to make war weapons, his talent in shipbuilding is recognized by even Tom. Being praised by Frankie like this shows that this young man is very special. Your Excellency, Bai Yi, I have heard of Mr. Tom's name and came here to visit you. Seeing Asbagu sizing him up, Bai Yi revealed his identity. Bai Yi, Asbagu thought while dragging his chin with one hand. He was different from Fram, who only liked to build war weapons. He also paid attention to maritime news on weekdays, and naturally heard about the young man who was married to the Amazon Lily Emperor. Then I looked at the gorgeous Hancock next to me. It was indeed exactly the same as what was published in the newspaper. This is still a big shot. He quickly invited them to Mr. Tom's studio and introduced them to Tom. Chapter 101. After meeting Mr. Tom successfully, Bai Yi pointed out another way for Tom using his weapon refining theory. 3 days later, Tom looked at the improved design of the sea train. With Bai Yi's help, the design of the sea train had become perfect. Not only does it greatly improve the train's strength, stability, speed and other aspects, it also has significant improvements. The train will be opened much earlier than expected. Your Excellency Bai Yi, thank you so much. I have never heard of your theories, but they are surprisingly effective. When the sea train opens to traffic, I will definitely entertain you. Bai Yi responded with a smile. It's my honor to be able to exchange shipbuilding experience with the rumored Mr. Tom. We have other things to do, so I won't bother you. After that, he waved goodbye to Tom and others. When Frankie saw that he was leaving at 020, he even felt a little reluctant to leave. But now is not the time to recruit directly, and Bai Yi is not in a hurry. The seeds have been planted and are waiting to sprout. He came to the shore in advance, jumped into the sea, went to a secluded place where there was no one, released the dawn, and then drove back to pick up everyone. The task of cutting off the beard went smoothly, and next was Brook, located in the Devil's Triangle. It is now the end of the year, and before I know it, it has been a year and a half since I came to the pirate world. After completing the recruitment of Brook, he will return to Juji to see where he still has his other 2 wives. It's so dark in here. When the daybreak sailed into the Devil's Triangle area, it seemed to be shrouded in a dark mist, with no sunlight all year round. Little Nami and Karina just grabbed the corners of Yamato's clothes and carefully looked out of the boat. Although Nokigao was also very scared, she wanted to act like a sister in front of her sister, so she held on to her fear and had the courage to peek into everything in the thick fog. On both sides, there were sunken ships and dilapidated and rotten pirate ships everywhere. There were only bones on the ships and not a single living person. When he learned that the Dawn had sailed into the Devil's Triangle, Bai Yi also walked out of the weapon refining room. The eerie atmosphere here was exactly the same as in the original work. Seeing Usopp and Chopper hiding behind the cabin door with only their heads exposed, he easily slipped them over. Thrown over the side of the ship amid their screams of terror. Looking back, little Zoro was unmoved by this sight and was still working hard on practicing his sword. At this time, the door of the cabin kitchen opened, and little Sanji brought a tray with the drink he had prepared. Brother Bai Yi, come and try the drink I made. This is what Sister Salome taught me. Little Sanji usually presented the tray with treasures. His greatest happiness was to be able to make delicious food and then listen to the praises of everyone, which made him feel that this is the whole meaning of life. After eating the renren fruit made form, Salome automatically gained a lot of knowledge about making tea and making drinks, although it did not help in combat. But it will definitely make many big people excited. Picking up the drink made by Sanji, he added some of his own ideas under Salome's guidance, and he had his own unique insights into cooking at a young age. Yes, not bad. Bai Yi also didn't hesitate to praise. Suddenly, daybreak came to an extremely large and decaying pirate ship. This ship was at least 5 days older than daybreak. The wind was howling, and there was a faint sound of ghosts crying. Make everyone's heart tremble. Salome, stop the boat. Bai Yi suddenly had some ideas. After asking Salome to stop the boat, he smiled at Heihei and others. It's adventure time. After saying that, he picked up Nami and Karina one by one, jumped to the ghost ship, put him down and ran away immediately. Come on girls. The 2 screamed in fright, hugged each other and trembled, and Bai Yi's blessing came to their ears. Then, Bai Yi sent Nokigao and Hiyori over again, and sent Usopp and Chopper over for the 3rd time. When he was about to mention Zoro, the little guy said proudly, I'll go myself. The beads were returned to the sheath, and he jumped from the boat to the ghost ship. Kuina also jumped over with Zoro. And you? Bai Yi looked at the last little guy on the boat, Sanji. At this time, Sanji was not as fearless as he was later, and he felt scared in his heart, but when he saw the green algae head, he jumped over without fear. Although he lost to him when climbing the cliff, he didn't want to keep losing. Shaking his teeth, he loudly said, "I'll go there by myself too." Then, he jumped onto the side of the ship and jumped into the ghost ship. Leaving a few flying insects behind, Bai Yi said to Salome, "Keep sailing, let's go and take a look ahead." Salome would not question any of his orders and immediately went to sail the ship, but Yamato wondered, "Where are they?" "Just stay here," Bai Yi said. "Let them practice their courage. I have left flying insects and have been tracking their location." The dawn continued to move forward. On the previous huge pirate ship, a flying insect quietly followed behind everyone on the previous ship. Bai Yi could always observe their every move through the monocular. As expected, Nami and Karina were frightened, and Chopper and Usopp were crouched in the corner, not daring to move. A few others were fine. Nokigao is looking for traces of Nami. Although she is also scared, she is the sister and has the responsibility to protect her sister. Yes, not bad. Bai Yi is very satisfied with Nokia's sense of responsibility. After Hiyori experienced her initial fear, she gradually became more courageous. She was the oldest among these people, and she warned herself in her heart that she must be a good example. Little Zoro and Kuina looked fearless, and they even found a bit boring. Sanji deliberately did not go in the same direction with Zoro, but went into the dark corner alone. "Here you go." Seeing Yamato's curious look, Bai Yi gave her a spare monocular and taught her how to use it. After Yamato put it on, several frames immediately appeared on the lens in front of his eyes, just like a compound eye, and each frame contained the whereabouts of a person. Hey, it's quite fun. The dawn was moving forward slowly, while Bai Yi carefully paid attention to the broken boats on both sides, looking for the walking skeleton. It stands to reason that it shouldn't be difficult. Brook is trapped in this sea area and has a lot of free time every day. He likes to play tricks on the crew members who accidentally stray into this area. Really, only 3 hours later, he heard that familiar laughter. Yo-ho-ho-ho. A skeleton holding a cup of black tea appeared on a dilapidated pirate ship nearby. He stood up straight and his afro was extremely conspicuous. To be scary, you don't need to tease others. With his current dignity, coupled with the terrifying atmosphere in the Devil's Triangle area, he just needs to stand here and say a few words, which is enough to scare some timid sailors to death. Where had Yamato and Hancock seen such a thing? The two immediately entered a fighting state. Bai Yi reached out to stop them. With one hand forward, an invisible vortex appeared in the palm of his hand. Brook, who was drinking tea, felt a suction force on his soul, and his soul was immediately captured by Bai Yi. The skeleton body immediately fell backwards, and his soul screamed in horror, "What's going on? Who are you?" Bai Yi flicked his fingers and fiddled with the imprisoned soul in his hand. "Follow me. I'll show you a wider world." He got straight to the point, and Brook was a little confused. He immediately agreed. Okay. He has been trapped here for too long. Although he will not die, his heart will get tired. And with his current appearance, it is impossible for anyone to accept him. But the man in front of him is different. He has the ability to easily capture his own soul, and he doesn't dislike him because of his appearance. What else is there to refuse? Just like when Luffy recruited him, he agreed without thinking. Brook agreed. Bai Yi flicked his finger, and the soul returned to its skeletal body. The fallen skeleton stood up, and Brook bowed to Bai Yi. "My lord, Brook, I have met you." Bai Yi also introduced himself at this time. "My name is Bai Yi. Please pack up and leave with our ship." Brook had nothing to deal with, so he went back and took his hat and cane sword, as well as his violin and piano. He is a musician. Even if he loses his sword, he cannot lose his instrument. "Your Excellency Bai Yi, I can't leave here yet." Brook, who has arrived on the dawn, said this. Oh, Bai Yi had some vague guesses in his heart. Judging from the timeline, it is indeed very possible. My shadow has been taken away by the devil. Once exposed to the sun, I will die. Brook's words confirmed his suspicion. Moonlight Moria's thriller bark has arrived in these waters. Do you know where the devil is? Bai Yi is not afraid of Moria. Not to mention his hard power, just by restraining his spirit and sending generals, he can do nothing. No. On the boat, when Brooke saw Hancock, Yamato and Salome, his skull eyes were about to look straight. Beautiful lady, let me see your fat. Before he finished speaking, Bai Yi used Julingshu to arrest him back, and kneaded his soul repeatedly in his hands. That's my wife. Brooke's soul quickly begged for mercy, and Bai Yi released him. You have to let this guy out alone in the future, and you can't let this pervert be in the same boat with you. Bai Yi looked at the position of the little guys through the monocular and asked the Don to return to pick them up. According to Brooke's description, Hogback had already joined forces with him to create a zombie army. It's time for them to move to another place to practice their courage. After picking up all the little guys, everyone else was groping around, except Chopper and Usopp, who were squatting in the corner and not moving. These two guys need a lot of training. For example, yo-ho-ho, Brooke appears behind them like a ghost. Ah, there was a scream, and the fear that was finally overcome surged into my heart again. After another long time, they finally recovered and looked at Bai Yi with extremely resentful eyes. Under Brooke's guidance, everyone arrived at the port of Thriller Bark. In Brooke's shocked eyes, he took Daybreak into his pocket. After arriving on the island, he, Hancock, Yamato and others immediately disappeared. In fact, they were moving away at top speed. It was very dark here and the visibility was very low. In the eyes of these little guys, they seemed to have disappeared. Before the stunned people could react to the disappearance of Bai Yi and others, they saw the soil next to them suddenly move. Hiyori, sister, why is the soil over there moving? Nami is hiding behind Hiyori, almost clinging to her back. The atmosphere here is even weirder than the ghost ship. Hiyori had never seen anything like this before. She swallowed hard and said calmly, I'll go take a look. Quote. As she walked forward carefully, the soil suddenly cracked open, and a zombie suddenly rushed out of the soil and rushed toward them with its teeth and claws. Ah, there was another scream, but luckily Brooke was right behind him. He pulled out his cane sword and easily cut it into 2 pieces. This journey was really thrilling and exciting for them. But fortunately, the construction of the zombie army has just begun, and there are not many zombies here yet. The invasion of Bai Yi and others also attracted Moria's attention. Absalom led a zombie army and was ordered to intercept Bai Yi. Is this Absalom? Bai Yi looked at the handsome blonde young man in front of him and couldn't bear to recognize him. Didn't Absalom have his body modified and transplanted with many beast organs? But this person in front of me looks like a human being. Could it be that it has not been transformed by Hogback? That's right, Hogbark has just cooperated with Moria not long ago, so there shouldn't be time for transformation yet. What a beautiful woman. Absalom was immediately attracted by Hancock's beauty. I want you to be my bride. He was very confident, but the consequences were serious. Bai Yi sent a big hand seal to coax him, and even if he dodged in time, one of his arms was smashed. So strong. Absalom then looked at it, and his body gradually disappeared. It was his fruit ability, the transparent fruit. But the body disappears visually and is not invincible. His breath was still there, and Bai Yi could easily identify his location. Moreover, seeing and hearing colors can also help you perceive his location. Absalom, whose arm was shattered by a move, did not dare to advance easily. He commanded the zombie army to attack Bai Yi. The most eye-catching one is the zombie in the middle. This zombie is holding a black knife, and his sword skills are not up to par. Ryoma. He stood where he was, and the shadows attached to the corpse were all stripped off by him. The shadow fruit seems to control shadows, but how could the shadow itself inherit the master's abilities? It's just relying on the shadow to take away part of its owner's soul. When it comes to manipulating spirits, is there anyone in the world who is stronger than the spiritual dispatch general? Countless small spirits gathered in his hands, including Brooke's part. The spirit disappeared and the zombie fell instantly. Bai Yi reached out and made a move, and the black knife Chushui in Longma's hand came to his hand. This is said to be the hardest knife in the world. Even if it is just a large and fast knife, its value is definitely not low. Putting it into his pocket, he looked in one direction. The ghostly shadow walked down, his body moved, and the next moment, his right hand grabbed Absalom's neck. Etc. A sharp cry came. Bai Yi raised his eyes and saw that it was Moria coming in person. He felt uneasy after sending Absalom, and immediately followed him. Unexpectedly, as soon as he arrived, he saw that his zombie army was completely wiped out, and Absalom was also grabbed by the throat. Moonlight Moria. Bai Yi did not kill Absalom immediately and threw him to the ground. Moria's ability was blocked by him, and he was thinking about whether to kill her. You know me. Moria's eyes narrowed. He was hiding in this Devil's Triangle area and knew that there were not many people around him. Bai Yi also knows his doubts, because the current Moria is not Shichibukai yet. My name is Bai Yi, and I give you two choices. Bai Yi stretched out two fingers and said slowly, 1. Surrender to me, 2. Die. Moria was furious. Kaido couldn't subdue him at first. Who is this new guy who dares to say such nonsense? Court death. He knew that it was not easy to meet this young man, so he took out the scissors and tried to cut off Bai Yi's shadow. Is it the power of the shadow fruit? Bai Yi could dodge, but he wanted to feel the limit of this ability, so he stood still. His own shadow was pulled up by Moria like a living thing, and then scissors cut it directly. Faintly feeling a feeling of soul tearing coming from him, Bai Yi couldn't help but marvel at the magic of devil fruit. Logically speaking, he is stronger than Moria, but when Moria wants to cut his shadow, he still has no room for resistance. This move probably gave Kaido a headache at first. Moria also relied on this ability to have the confidence to challenge Kaido. But it's of no use in front of myself. The shadow that was held by Moria's hand returned instantly as he sent his generals to transport him. Moria, who was laughing wildly, suddenly stopped laughing like a goose being strangled by the throat. This is all you can do. Bai Yi's indifferent voice came. Surrender, or die. I'll give you 3 seconds to think. Moria suddenly felt that this time she was even more powerless than the last time she faced Kaido. 3. Bai Yi has started timing. 2. At this moment, a little girl ran from a distance. When Moria saw her, she quickly shouted, Perona, go back quickly. But it was too late. A flying knife quietly came to Perona's neck. Moria, if you don't agree, not only will you die, but she will also die. Bai Yi pointed to Absalom on the ground again, with him. 1. When the last sound fell, Perona's delicate and white neck was still bleeding, which was slowly being cut by the flying knife. I surrender. I surrender. Moria felt a little depressed. Although this guy is a pervert who likes to play with corpses, he is very good to his own people. Absalom was killed, and he dared to go to Blackbeard alone to settle the score. Perona was his adopted daughter. She had been raised since childhood. How could he bear to watch his daughter being killed? Very good. Room. The girl in the distance instantly changed places with the flying knife in front of him, and was caught in his hand. A wise choice. Next, I need to take away your loyalty, don't resist. Before Moria could understand the meaning of Bai Yi's words, his body had been cut open by the blade. Bai Yi's hand reached into his chest and took away a piece of the heart connected to the surrounding tissue. When Perona saw Moria's heart being taken out, she immediately yelled in panic, Moria! Why didn't you just let us go if Moria surrendered? Perona was frightened and wanted to stab Bai Yi with a knife, but Saulia stopped her in time. Perona, stop. I'm fine. Bai Yi put his heart in front of Moria and said to him, as long as I crush your heart, you will die. Do good things for me in the future, and I will not treat you badly. Putting his heart into his bag, he mentioned Perona, this is the hostage. Seeing that Moria was a little restless, he said, as long as you are loyal, she can learn enough good things from me, but if you dare to betray, Perona hasn't eaten the Lingling fruit yet, and she doesn't know where Moria got the devil fruit. But the positioning of this fruit is a bit awkward. In the early version without Haki, it can be called a god-tier player. But once Haki's settings were figured out, it almost started to work. Moreover, Perona's own physical skills were ridiculously weak, and she was completely eliminated from the version. Moria was speechless. His life and death were no longer in his hands. No need to announce it to the outside world, continue to develop here, and don't always think about creating a zombie army. That thing is useless to the strong. Bai Yi instructed him in detail. Focus on Haki and Fruit Awakening. These two are the foundation of the future and the basis for fighting the strong. I'll take the little girl away. I'll let her find time to visit you. Don't worry. The monocular saw the position of the little guys under surveillance by flying insects. These guys were still jumping up and down scared by the zombies. Only Zoro, Kuina and Hiyori dared to draw their swords against the zombies. After catching them, he returned Brook's shadow, which made Brook's affection for him widen again. Who is she? Raihei saw that Baiyi had brought another little girl, and she was already somewhat used to it. She is a hostage. Baiyi introduced Perona like this. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Don't look back. If you behave well, I will let you come back to visit Moria. With Baiyi's guarantee, Perona reluctantly left with him. On the shore, he released the Dawn from the capsule and carried everyone back to Nine Snakes Island. On the boat, Baiyi took out the autumn water and placed it in front of Zoro. The last cliff test, I promised that as long as I could climb up alone, I would be rewarded, and this is the reward for you. This sword is called Shisui. It is a black sword that was tempered by Haki. It is a very fast sword. It is also the sword of Wanokuni's dragon-slaying warrior Ryoma, and it is Wanokuni's national treasure. Zoro listened to this list of names. He had no idea about the so-called black sword or national treasure. All he heard in his ears was the word, big sharp sword. But Hiyori was different. She asked in surprise, is this Chushui? This is Wanokuni's national treasure. As Princess Wanokuni, she is determined to become the future Queen Wanokuni. How could she let this sword wander outside? But Chushui was obtained by Baiyi and given to Zoro, so she couldn't ask for it. Baiyi knew what she was thinking, so he said, I gave the knife to Zoro. If you want it, just find a way to ask Zoro for it yourself. You can exchange it with him for other knives or items of equal value. I won't stop you. Quote. Hiyori glanced at Tianyu Yuzan in her hand and said, no. This is my father's sword and it cannot be exchanged. Zoro happily took the knife. When he heard Baiyi's words, he said loudly, I won't change it. Good thing Zhao Nuo. Brother Baiyi gave it to me. This knife is mine. Hiyori. I haven't said anything yet. I want to kill this guy. This time I went out for a year and harvested 4 devil fruit, bear fruit, giant panda form, bear fruit, polar bear form, golden gold fruit, and a devil fruit whose name I don't know. Among them, the giant panda form has been given to Kuina and rescued the girl from certain death. Luffy's friends, except Frankie and Robin, have all arrived. Coupled with Yamato, Hiyori, Kurina, and Nokigao, these people will become the cornerstone of his future power. Just as he was summarizing his gains, the system's voice suddenly sounded. Because Host tried to assassinate Luffy, Garp moved Luffy's living place, and Sabo left with them to avoid being bombarded by celestial dragons. The place where Luffy goes to see will change. Ace and Sabo are both important characters related to the protagonist. Their future will also change, and the world line will undergo major changes. Play one of the 8 wonderful skills Tongtianru as a reward. Another strange method, Bai not only instantly understood how to draw talismans out of thin air, but also obtained a large number of inheritance of the talisman technique. Otherwise, it would be embarrassing if you only know the Tongtianlu but don't understand the talisman. It would be like getting a state-of-the-art missile launcher but no missiles. There are countless talismans such as the 5 Thunder Talisman, the 5 Powerful Person Talisman, the Trapped Immortal Talisman, the Ecstasy Seal in the Palm, Dean Day's Curse, and so on. Of course, Baiyi only knows how to use it now. If he wants to increase its power, he needs to continue to explore and practice on his own. Also, Luffy was transferred by Garp. This is troublesome. I originally wanted to use puppets to trick Luffy and Garp, but Lao Den can't stay in Windmill Village all the time. But things are different now. Luffy has been transferred to an unknown place, and the future of the 3 of them will be completely different. Withdrawing his mind, his eyes were attracted by a pirate ship not far away. Red Hair Pirates, the familiar ship and pirate flag evoked Baiyi's memories of watching dramas. Get closer to that ship. Baiyi ordered Salome so. On the red-haired pirate ship, Shanks was having a banquet with the crew. Barrels of fine wine and pieces of barbecue were placed on the deck. Suddenly, Beckman said to Shanks, there is a ship approaching us. Shanks didn't take it seriously. Just get closer and let's keep drinking. He came over suddenly. Originally, his route was not on our 32nd. Beckman reminds Shanks not to be careless. They are now quite famous on the sea. Except for a few pirate groups such as the Whitebeard Pirates, their strength is no longer afraid of most threats in the world. If you dare to come close to them after seeing their pirate flag, it means that the person coming is confident. Oh, which pirate group wants to challenge us again? Shanks laughed and clinked glasses with Usopp. His face was already a little red because he was drunk. No, it doesn't fly the pirate flag, so it shouldn't be a pirate group. This is what puzzles Beckman. Not a pirate, not a marine, are there any other strong people in the world? While several people were talking, the daybreak had already arrived. Shanks then became serious, holding the wine bottle in one hand and walking leisurely to the side of the boat. The ship opposite was smaller than my own Red Force, and a pair of young men and women who looked like immortals stood side by side on the bow. Isn't that the Nine Snakes Empress from the Seven Warlords of the Sea? What are they doing here? Bai Yi looked at Shanks with a smile and wrote in the void with one hand. In just a moment, a 5-thunder talisman Bia was drawn. Go! Brilliant thunder shot at the Dreyfus. Shanks stood motionless, a gunshot rang out, and a small bullet shattered the thunder. The bullets also disappeared at the same time, and white smoke burst into the air. Bai Yi was not very proficient in drawing talisman for the first time, and the writing in some places was a bit irregular, resulting in insufficient thunder power. But he is not discouraged. Skills require more practice to become stronger and stronger. In the blink of an eye, another 5-thunder talisman appeared, the thunder struck down, and was shattered by bullets again. But his speed of drawing talismans became faster and faster, and he became more and more skillful. Dozens of 5-thunder talismans appeared in the void, and large thunderbolts fell, like divine punishment. Shanks' expression changed, and he threw away the wine bottle in his hand. Griffin unsheathed his sword, wrapped around conquerors, and struck into the gurgling thunder. God avoids. This is the sword technique inherited from Roger. It is so sharp that even the gods need to avoid it. He is worthy of being one of the 4 emperors in the future. With just one divine move, he split a lot of thunder, and there was even a trace of sword light falling in front of Bai Yi. The proficiency of the Tongtianlu is still too low, and the power of the talisman cannot be fully exerted. Bai Yi sighed, and blasted out with his great mercy hand. While smashing the sword light into pieces, he also forced himself towards Shanks. Shanks continued to fight with sword skills. He doesn't have devil fruit abilities, and all his strength lies in his sword skills. The large hand seal was easily broken into pieces, but the power contained in it also made Shanks look serious. This Bai Yi is very strong. They also often pay attention to the news on the sea, and they have heard of Bai Yi's name. At this moment, everyone in the Red Hair Pirates at the banquet stopped eating and drinking and stood beside the captain. Usopp raised a flintlock pistol and pointed it at Bai Yi's head. Bai Yi looked sideways slightly, and there was a faint tingling sensation on his forehead. This is the crisis perception given by the color of seeing and hearing. This shows that Bu has already hurt himself. But he doesn't care. The only way to hurt himself is to touch him. Now he has 100 ways to make Usopp die silently without being able to fire a gun. Just as the two sides were at war with each other, a father's shout plunged the confrontation into silence. Dad, I finally see you. Usopp, who was hiding in the corner and watching, saw Usopp appear and jumped up excitedly. He called his father and waved to the other side with all his strength. Usopp's expression changed instantly. Although he didn't go home, he still recognized his son. But now that my son is on the opposite side, and the other side is actively attacking me, could my son become a hostage? Shanks and Usopp are close friends, and they also recognize Usopp's appearance. But he didn't feel as nervous as Usopp. Instead, he comforted him and said, "Don't be nervous, Usopp, that Bai Yi has no murderous intention." Shanks, who can awaken to see, hear and kill, has an extremely keen sense of breath. He clearly knows that Bai Yi, who suddenly attacks him, does not intend to fight him. Perhaps, like Hawkeye, he just wants to fight with himself. Young people today are really talented. Shanks sincerely praised Bai Yi and invited him. "Sir Bai Yi, will you come and sit on my boat?" "My pleasure." Bai Yi readily agreed and asked Salome to bring the ship close to Red Force and led everyone to jump over the side of the ship. Usopp was the first to run over excitedly. He rarely saw his father. Apart from the photos left by his father, the only things he could see were the reward orders issued by Marine. Usopp was caught off guard when he met Usopp suddenly, but he felt relieved when he saw that his son was stronger than he had imagined. It's really a fleet of young people. Shanks was surprised to see the children one after another. The youngest ones are only 8 or 9 years old, and there is also a skeleton and a civet cat. They had never seen such a strange fleet of ships. But thinking about myself, I have been on Roger's pirate ship for as long as I can remember. There was also a clown buggy who was my own age. Marco was also raised on the Whitebeard pirate ship. But the group of little guys Baiyi brought with him were too many. Haha, brother Baiyi is young and promising. He also married the most beautiful woman in the sea, which is really enviable. Shanks soon became close friends with Baiyi. Usopp is talking to Usopp, and little Zoro wants to challenge the Red Hair Pirates crew. These people also laughed and battled with him, and even taught him some combat skills from time to time. After asking these little ones about their dreams, they were also happy to teach some real stuff. As a result, Bendik Snake taught Nami about navigation, Hongo gave Chopper many medical books, and Bendik and Muscat even started a music house with Blue. Is this little girl Odin's daughter? Shanks was also surprised when he learned Hiyori's identity. The little girl who was just born is now so big. Come on, come on. Brother Baiyi and I hit it off right away. We won't come home until we get drunk today. Shanks happily invited Baiyi and others to join the banquet. After drinking the wine, the alcohol was instantly decomposed by the perfect digestive organs modified by the immortal thief Luku. The delicacies made by Rakiru were even more superb than Sanji's current craftsmanship. The banquet was held all night long, and until early the next morning, everyone fell asleep all over the place. Baiyi, Hancock and Salome will not get drunk because of their relationship with the immortal thief Luku, and Ben Beckman will not drink alcohol because he has to stay calm and rational at all times. They were now on the deck blowing the morning sea breeze. The Dawn docked next to Red Force, and the red-haired pirate retreated all nearby pirates. What's your purpose in finding us? Beckman asked as he smoked. Baiyi stretched and smiled. Why do you ask? I just want Usopp to meet his long-lost father. Beckman said. People like you are very purposeful in doing things and will never come to us for no reason. Baiyi was surprised. It was just a one-sided relationship. How could Sekimin see through him? But when you think about the other party's highest IQ in the pirate world, it becomes clear. There is indeed something. Baiyi confessed. I want information about the underground world. Ever since the incident at the Bliss Bar, he has been wanted by the underground world. First, 5 pirate groups besieged them, and when they arrived at Drum City, there was also the gladiator Oliver who wanted to claim the reward for his head. Since these people are seeking death, of course they must be satisfied. Moreover, in order to develop power, it is important to control the underground world. There are not only a lot of ways to make money there, but also the most detailed intelligence. It must be in control. Beckman spat out an eye socket and squinted at the rising sun. What do you want in exchange? They are pirates, not a charity. If they want something, they must exchange it at equal value. Baiyi thought for a while and gave a price. After you kill the pirates, you can come to me to receive the reward. I don't charge an agency fee. The pirate group will also kill other pirate groups, and the bounty of those killed cannot be wasted. This is the most important means of making money for a pirate group like Shanks who does not rely on robbery. But as pirates, they naturally can't go directly to Marine to collect the reward. They will fall into a trap themselves. This requires a middleman to go to Marine to collect the reward on their behalf, and they pay this person a commission. This kind of person is a bounty hunter. The bounty hunters of the 4 seas can also kill low-level pirates, but the bounty hunters of the Grand Line do not have this kind of strength. Their way of survival is to act as middlemen between pirates and Marines to earn commissions. The commission is not high, and Baiyi doesn't like it. But for red hair pirates, it adds up to a fortune. Beckman quickly calculated the pros and cons. Okay. As the man with the highest IQ on the sea, Beckman knows the importance of information. Although the red hair pirates are not powerful, he has his own way of collecting information. He naturally knows the details of the underground world. There are 6 emperors in the underground world today. Beckman narrated. King of Lone Usury, Dufeld, Queen of the Pleasure District, Stussy, King of Killers, Dorag Picro, king of intelligence, Morgans, king of warehouses, Gilbertson, king of shipping, Umit. This is all information that Bai Yi knows, and he still needs more detailed information. Beckman continued. This information is not a secret, but what the world doesn't know is that Feld, Picro and Morgans all belong to the same force, or in other words, they are the same person. He is the real emperor of the underground world. Beckman took another drag on his cigarette. He finally learned this information. Night Ghost, Solomon Archibald. This man is hiding all over the world and is not in the Grand Line. As long as he is still there, it will be useless even if he kills Felder and others. As for Gibberson and Umid, they have the background of Wangguo and Kaido behind them, so most people won't bother them. Only that Stussy seems to have appeared out of nowhere, and no one knows its origins. Beckman told the truth everything he knew about the underground world. According to my information, Solomon is most likely in North Blue recently. If you want to attack him, you can go to North Blue to look for clues. 0.0. Bai Yi, write it down. Stussy's background is World Government CPO, and its real owner has always been Vegapunk. Through her, you may be able to contact Vegapunk. As for the so-called Night Ghost, he trusted Beckman's judgment. Because, the master of the underworld will soon change to Doflamingo. Mingji's main activity area is in North Blue. Moreover, being able to be killed by Brother Ming also locks the upper limit of this so-called Night Ghost, which will not exceed Brother Ming. Moreover, he also knew the details of the reward he was being offered. The information was provided by Morgans, the killer was provided by Picro, and the bounty was provided by Feld. For example, the gladiator Oliver is secretly Picro's man. But I heard the underworld bounty on you was recently revoked. Beckman suddenly said something again. Cancel. Is it because of Oliver's death? Bai Yi thinks it's very possible. That Oliver's strength is actually not weak. Coupled with the gladiator fruit that strengthens himself and weakens the enemy, he has almost no opponent under the Shichibukai. But he was killed by himself, which shows that his strength has exceeded the level that the underground world can deal with. There are no fools in the underground world. The so-called rules are for the weak to follow. Could it be that when Whitebeard, Kaido and others break the rules, they also want to hunt down the killing force? I will establish information stations in various places. In the future, red hair pirates can go to these places to exchange bounties without commission. The two parties exchanged radio signals from telephone bugs. After the intelligence station is built, I will tell you the address. After completing a goal, he asked again, you must have obtained a lot of devil fruit. I think you don't want to become a person with abilities. How about selling all the fruits to me? I'll pay 10% more of the market value. Bai Yi focused on devil fruit. Originally, he considered using the old method to steal it, but after thinking about Shank's knowledge and experience, he realized that the probability was high, so he could only spend money to buy it honestly. Fortunately, he is not short of money. The value of devil fruit is generally between 100 million and 1 billion. Special fruits such as op fruit and rubber fruit are even more expensive, reaching 5 billion. This value is already a sky-high price. Rare Logia is around 1 billion, Paramecia and Common Zone are mostly around 100 million belly. Only the individual powerful Paramecia are more expensive. As for the fantasy beast species, it can be sold for 1 billion in February. It is still marketable but priceless. Bai Yi also doesn't expect to buy the phantom beast and Logia. Some regular zone and Paramecia devil fruit will suffice. Although strong men like Shanks look down upon it, it plays a significant role in improving the combat power of ordinary warriors. Devil fruit. Beckman didn't expect Bai Yi to want to buy the devil fruit, but under Shank's philosophy, all members of the Red Hair Pirates did not eat the fruit, so the fruits they found and seized would also be sold. It has to be sold anyway, and it's not impossible to sell it to Bai Yi, not to mention Bai Yi's promise to buy it at 10% higher than the market price. But he alone could not make the decision on this matter, so he said to Bai Yi. This matter needs to be discussed with Shanks. When the hungover people woke up, it was already afternoon. Beckman told Shanks that Bai Yi wanted to buy devil fruit. Shanks agreed directly. He disdains being a person with abilities, and is not afraid of people with abilities. He believes that the real strong ones ultimately rely on haki. After eating the fruit, he still has to waste time developing the fruit's abilities, which in his opinion is not cost-effective. Let Rakiru take out a large wooden box from the cabin. After opening it, it was all devil fruit. A total of 5. This is right. There are many capable people under the 4 emperors. Even Brother Ming has more than a dozen ability users under his command. As one of the future 4 emperors, how can Shanks not get the fruits? This is one of the few he has sold, and before his strength has reached its peak, he already has 5 fruits in stock. Among these fruits, 4 are named in the Devil Fruit Illustrated book. There are 2 Zone and 2 Paramecia. Zone Chongchong Fruit Butterfly Form. Zone Cat Fruit Rabbit Cat Form. Open black lens bracket Paramecia Paper Fruit Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Paramecia Rage Fruit Close black lens bracket. The last fruit is shaped like a mangosteen, with black curly lines on it, which is not even found in the Devil Fruit Illustrated book. Shanks said, these 4 are the most common devil fruit, with a total of 400 million Baileys according to the market price. Although I don't know the name of the last one, its aura is extraordinary. At least it is the ancient species of Zone. If you want it, just pay 1 billion. Including the 10% price you promised above the market price, the total is 1.54 billion Baileys. It's really expensive. Bai Yi's face twitched. This price shows from the side how amazing the wealth that Lao Sha, Ming Zhe, and the 4 emperors have. But he has treasures from Don Quixote Auction House and Goawangwoshan. Coupled with the treasures obtained from hunting pirates and the bounty collected from the marine, it is enough to pay this fee. Shanks took over this large amount of money. Although they seemed to have no desires, they actually spent a lot of money. With a partner like Bai Yi, the sale of stolen goods will go more smoothly. Haha, happy cooperation. Shanks waved goodbye to Bai Yi and others. Usopp reluctantly said goodbye to his father and shouted loudly, I will definitely become a great sea warrior. When we meet next time, I will surpass you. Usopp also responded with a hearty smile, I'll wait for you. Poor Usopp still doesn't know that the pirate ship in front of him will become one of the 4 emperors in the future, and its crew members are all famous beings. However, he followed Bai Yi, who believed that he could stimulate Usopp's potential in advance, so that he would no longer be praised only for luck, but grow into a real strong man. At the same time, in the capital of 7 Rivers, a man wearing a black robe slowly came to the shipyard. And just by the next superior ship. In the distance, Frame looked at the figure with some doubts. He felt that it looked familiar, but he couldn't figure out who it was. The ship went into the sea and took out 2 large machines from a spherical ornament on its waist. And retrofitted onto the ship. This man is exactly the doll made by Bai Yi. After the puppet modified the ship, he sailed to North Blue according to the chart Bai Yi left for him. The road is very familiar, this is not the first time I have been here. Still passing through the seabed, crossing the calm belt, and passing by Berwick Island, he did not go to the island for a brief stroll. Of course, he didn't expect to directly find the so-called night ghost Solomon Archibald. What he was looking for was the traces of Brother Ming. Before entering the new world, Brother Ming will definitely kill Solomon and take control of the underground world. There was nothing unusual on the island, and Iron Rod Admiral Gil was killed without leaving any impact here. People in this world have become accustomed to pirates' fights. As long as the swords and guns don't fall on them, they don't care. After leaving Berwick Island, he had to visit every island he passed on the way. Until the 18th island. The doll had just landed on the beach when 2 girls from 3.4 bumped into it. Their faces were thin, their clothes were shabby, and they looked panicked. The older one looks 17 or 18 years old, but the younger one is only about 10 years old. Behind the 2 of them, a group of people were chasing after them from a distance. Stop, you stinky bitch. Lousy has raised you for so many years in vain. How dare you hurt your brother? The girl bumped into the doll and was painfully hit, but the crowd behind her was almost catching up with her, but there was no other road in front of her except the sea. They looked desperate. Once caught, they would have their skin peeled off even if they died. Looking at the man in black in front of me, a bold idea came to my mind. The girl quickly pulled her sister to kneel in front of the doll, hugging his legs and crying bitterly, Sir, please save us. We are willing to do anything for you. The puppet lowered its head and said calmly, What are your names? When the girl saw him talking, she quickly replied, Sir, my name is Monet, and this is my sister Sugar. If we are caught, we will definitely die. Upon hearing the name, Bai Yi, who controls the puppet, immediately became energetic. Sure enough, there will be no unprovoked encounters in the world. It seems that the changes to the world line have begun to bear fruit. Now there is no need to actively search for them. There are already characters in the original plot who have independently escaped from their original fate. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly heard some voices again. Looking back, I saw a pirate ship docking on the sea. A blond man walked over as if he didn't recognize his relatives. Tisk, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Bai Yi was overjoyed, and the puppet said, "Come with me." The 2 sisters hurriedly followed. When the crowd chasing behind them saw that the Monet sisters were about to leave with a man in black, they immediately cursed, "That boy in front, leave those 2 bitches behind." Bai Yi didn't answer. A cold light flashed across, and everyone who was chasing him fell into a pool of blood, holding their throats. How did the black light appear and return to Shang Shang? This scene made the duo 14 Flamengo who was coming towards him look a bit suspicious. "Hey, stop." Brother Ming pointed a gun at the doll's head. "Kneel down or die." When he saw the doll's strange killing methods, he became interested in conquering it. Brother Ming has great ambitions, and he also knows that in order to ascend to the throne, he must have strong subordinates. But how can he conquer the doll? The black light flashed and cut off dozens of silk threads wrapped in armed colors one after another. However, they were eventually entangled with more silk threads and stopped in midair. It turns out to be a flying knife. Only then did Brother Ming see the true face of Blacklight and how those people died. "Yes, you are qualified to follow me." She. He laughed wildly and wanted to take the puppet under his wing. "Want to conquer me? You're not qualified yet." The puppet suddenly burst into flames, and Brother Ming also fired at this time. The bullet hit the doll's forehead squarely, but the doll's hair was intact. As the ghost shadow walked down, he was in front of Brother Ming in an instant, and his 5 fingers turned into claws to grab Brother Ming's throat. Brother Ming dodged sideways, and his armed-colored arms collided with him. But the next moment, Brother Ming's expression suddenly changed. He felt that his body was weak and most of his strength was gone. Seastone. He knew very well that this feeling must be caused by Seastone. However, this man obviously didn't have anything in his hand, so why did the Seastone effect appear? The puppet took advantage of his illness to kill him and continued to claw at his throat. At the critical moment, Pika, Diamante, Raoji, Senor and others attacked at the same time. Their headquarters wanted to intervene. In their hearts, the young master was invincible. However, the young master was suddenly defeated, which caught them off guard. Brother Ming tried his best to twist his body to prevent his throat from falling into the enemy's hands. But the puppet's speed was too fast. Although it didn't grab Brother Ming's throat, it also grabbed his heart. The nails on the 5 fingers shone with cold light. They were sharp blades made of seastone and meteorite. The sharp blade pierced Brother Ming's chest and even touched his heartbeat. The attack from Pika and others also came at the same time. Boom! The puppet was knocked away by everyone's combined efforts, but he dusted himself off and stood up unharmed. The hardness of the doll is not something that these people can break through casually. But the doll's attack, because all the copied abilities are used to cause trouble, so it has no direct attack ability. Da Flamingo, do you want to continue? The puppet stood proudly in front of Brother Ming, with that attitude that made Brother Ming angry. HMPH. Let's see. He has never suffered such a big loss, and he almost had his heart ripped out. The puppet moved the 2 Monet sisters, who were frightened by the side, and walked swaggering past Brother Ming and others, got on the boat and left. At the same time, the system voice came. Sister Humonai Sugar, the future world line will be slightly changed due to this, and the reward is Dragon Claw Hand. Soon, gunshots rang out on the island and fires burned. Monet and the 2 men standing on the boat looked at the doll nervously. This is their savior, but they have no idea whether he is good or evil. Tell me, why are those people chasing you? There was no warmth in the doll's words, and Monet quickly poured out his experience. His parents died young and he was fostered in his uncle's house, but he was treated like a slave and was not given enough food or clothing. As Monet grew older and became more mature, her uncle's son, their cousin, actually wanted to taint her. In fear, she grabbed a pair of scissors and cut off her cousin's penis. Knowing that she was in big trouble, she quickly ran away with her sister. Without Bai Yi, they would have been captured or thrown into the sea and died. Is this F-King plot again? Bai Yi only knew that these two people lived miserable lives, but he didn't know exactly how miserable they were. It turned out to be like this. But what they don't know is that even if he doesn't show up, Doflamingo will save them and make them his die-hard loyalists. Now, the die-hard is his own. Follow me from now on, and no one will bully you again. The puppet's words made the two of them feel at peace, and they unconsciously became more attached to him. Wait for me here for a while. The puppet jumped off the boat and within a short time, it came ashore with a 2-meter-long fish. There are no kitchen utensils, so let's eat sashimi first. Throwing the big fish on the deck, the two puppets threw out 2 knives. How dare the two people say no? Having meat to eat has been their dream for many years. Besides, marine fish can be eaten raw. Use a knife to cut off the fish skin with difficulty, cut out some fish meat, and the two of them devoured it. It had been a long time since they had had enough to eat. Don't you want to eat? They didn't forget to ask Bai Yi first. But the doll does not need to eat. He waved his hand. I won't eat, you can eat, cut off the uneaten food and hang it to dry. After the meal, Monet asked carefully, what is your name, and how should we call you? Bai Yi thought for a while. As the doll would inevitably have to communicate with people when walking outside, it would be better to have a name. After thinking for a moment, he said, Sha Lanyang Yang Yi, you can call me Sha Yi, or you can call me Yang Yi. Okay, Lord Yi, Monet answered respectfully, and also pulled sugar to salute with him. After that, the two began to cut the fish together and hang it to dry. After doing all this, Bai Yi taught the two people how to practice qi. Judging from the original plot, they are loyal to Brother Ming, even if they sacrifice their lives. This shows that the two people have good character and can develop into confidants. The doll walks outside, and even after conquering the underground world in the future, it will need its own people to manage it. It is obviously inconvenient for him to come out of 9 snakes. The puppet still needs to develop its own power. The ship where the puppet was on was not far away. When he was fighting Ming Jie, he had already completed the transformation of Ming Jie's clothes and put a small tracker into it. The tracker is the core component of flying insects. It is extremely small. Although it cannot move freely like flying insects, it is difficult to be discovered. As long as you follow Brother Ming, you can find the hiding place in the underground world. A desert island near 9 snakes. Bai Yi docked the boat here and let everyone off the boat. You kid actually remembers to come see the old man. An old man with white hair came from a distance with a big smile. He looked like just an ordinary fisherman. Rayleigh, I found a lot of good seeds for you, come and take a look. Bai Yi found that Rayleigh was different from before. Although the strong men in the pirate world will not become weak due to aging, the injuries accumulated in years of fighting will affect their energy and spirit. But now, Rayleigh's spirit is stronger, which is an invisible change in temperament. When Rayleigh saw Zoro and others, he seemed to see Shanks from Zheng Jin. Although he has not tested the strength of these little guys with his own hands, he knows that he has indeed found a treasure day and night. But how could a person like him be prostituted by Bai Yi so easily? Want to escape from me? No way, Bai Yi said with a smile. Do you want to bring all your skills to the coffin? Wouldn't it be better to have these disciples spread the name of Pluton for you? As he spoke, he did not forget to give Zoro a gentle kick in the butt. Call master. This is the right wrist of Roger, the pirate king back then, Pluton Rayleigh. His swordsmanship is the strongest in the world. Zoro was originally stubborn and disdainful, but after hearing that he was the strongest in the world, he couldn't help but formally confront the old man. All the other little guys are like this. Is this old man the strongest? Rayleigh is certainly not the strongest, but he can be one of the top players. Boy, there's no point in complimenting me. Just come up with something good. Rayleigh was smiling so much that he couldn't stand it at all. He had had many ups and downs in his life, and he had eaten more salt than Bai Yi had ever eaten. After obtaining the method of practicing qi, he studied it day and night, and became more and more aware that this method was so mysterious that he could even repair his own injuries sustained over the years. This made him look forward to Bai Yi even more. Alright, backquote. Bai Yi thought for a while. As long as his core abilities such as the 8 magic skills are not leaked, these ordinary skills can be taught. A palm struck out with a big hand seal, a hand of great compassion. How about this? Although the power is not particularly powerful, Rayleigh knows that it is because Bai Yi has practiced little. If he masters this skill, with his strength, he can crush Shizuo Island with 10 palms. Rayleigh readily accepted. Bai Yi then told Rayleigh the essentials and secrets of the Great Merciful Hand. Rayleigh nodded frequently. I see, it can still be used in this way. It's eye-opening, eye-opening. Rayleigh praised repeatedly and fulfilled his promise to teach Zoro and others his sword skills. Although Rayleigh's sword is a Western sword, the sword techniques are similar, and you can learn a lot from it. Even Bai Yi was studying very seriously. After all, the dragon on his waist is not just a decoration. After that, he left the little ones to practice on this desert island. Although Karina and others did not plan to learn swordsmanship, they could still practice chi and ask Rayleigh for advice on the use of haki. After returning to Nine Snakes City, he sent a pair of female warriors to the desert island to build a few houses for a few people to live in. Bai Yi took Sonia and Mary to start a life without shame. In the boudoir, after a hearty battle, Bai Yi, who entered sage mode, thought about plans for the new year. The first is a plot that can be participated in and changed. Hody stole the box, but Hody was dead. Zapu rescues Sanji and creates a sea restaurant, but Sanji is already here by himself. Monet and Sugar were rescued by Brother Ming, but they were also cut off by him. Ginny was freed from slavery and suffered from an incurable disease. She contacted the bear for the last time. When the bear arrived, she had died, leaving only the newborn Bonnie. Bonnie's father is most likely the celestial dragons who defiled Ginny. But there is not much room for intervention in this matter. Are Bonnie and the bear going to be killed? But what good does this do to yourself? Bonnie is not an important person in the world line. If you kill her, it will most likely be difficult to trigger the system. As for Big Bear, this is a miserable batch. However, if I can heal Ginny, can I gain the allegiance of the Big Bear? The ability of the meatball fruit is still very buggy. But for an incurable disease, it is estimated that only 2 hands can do it. Just relying on the ability of Op fruit is still not enough. We still need to speed up the recruitment of Robin and Frankie. In addition, you must practice more to acquire these abilities. The matter of refining the weapon can come to an end for the time being, as there are not many materials left, and it is necessary to continue to acquire them. At the same time, female warriors must be dispatched to establish intelligence stations in various places. First of all, the closest place is Sabayati, where you can learn from Shaki's experience and open a cafe or something. Then there is Seahai, but if you want to go there, you need strong people to escort you. This is not difficult. The next time you go to sea, you can take a group of people to Seahai. Under the early morning sun, he was wielding Julong and fighting fiercely with Yamato. Shimotsuki's swordsmanship, Pluton's swordsmanship, and Shank's swordsmanship that he observed were gradually integrated into his own moves. Julong Shuiliang, he did not use the ability to split the blade, and only used his sword skills to fight against Yamato's mace. The battle between the two sides was fierce, and each was growing rapidly. The deserted island where Rayleigh lives is now full of life. Everyone has also gained the sense of energy. After getting the chi sense, Rayleigh often gave them guidance on the awakening and use of haki. Bai Yi also taught them new abilities. Among them, Karina and Na Liao know-how, Mei chose ghost shadowing, and Nochigao chose Bajikwan. Kuina and Zoro focused on sword skills and were not distracted by other tactics. Usopp used a homemade slingshot to practice shooting. Sanji liked kicking. Bai Yi specially asked Hancock to sort out his own kicking and teach it to Sanji. Chopper chose the merciful hand. Usopp, you can't just practice archery. In this world, physical skills are the key. Bai Yi took out a small black tube and handed it to Usopp. Wear it on your arm to help you exercise, and you can also use this thing to fire energy bombs, which is much stronger than your slingshot. The black guaner used for practicing martial arts is not a powerful magic weapon. It is found in the inheritance of Shenji Bai Lian. Bai Yi made one for Usopp. Skills can train his basic skills and also improve his shooting ability, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Sure enough, Usopp liked the black tube very much after getting it. It was exactly what he wanted. A month later, the Dawn set sail again, this time without Nami and others. These little guys are really cumbersome and inconvenient for him to do things. On the boat, there were still 5 people: him, Hancock, Yamato, Hiyori, and Salome. In addition, there are 35 nine-snake female warriors. They are outstanding warriors selected after a competition, and they have already achieved considerable results. These people he wanted to use to form the prototype of an intelligence network. The ship first came to the Sabayati archipelago and found Shaki. With her help, he opened a cafe in Sabayati. Passing through the bottom of the sea, New World is different from other places. It requires a certain degree of self-protection strength. Otherwise, the female warriors who stay here will face death at any time. Leticia, I leave this to you. In the capital of the Kingdom of Prudence, Bai handed a small box to a pretty girl. This is a reward for you. New World is different from other places. Pay attention to hiding yourself and staying safe. Leticia opened the box and found a devil fruit lying quietly inside. The female warriors of Nine Snake Island now know the truth about the Snake Sisters' abilities and the magical devil fruit. She understood the value and significance of the fruit, and immediately knelt down on one knee to express her loyalty. Master Shiji, Master Bai, please rest assured, I will definitely build a perfect intelligence network here. Bai also gave her a large amount of money to build an intelligence network. The devil fruit was purchased from Shanks in the form of a zone cat fruit rabbit. This place is close to Dressrosa, so I don't know if it will be affected by Mingay Swangwo. Then, there is the North Pass. Come to the familiar street. Runzoa, where the Dawn was created. The forces on the island are not complicated, and the largest capital is the shipyard. He spent money to buy a piece of land and opened a tavern, leaving 5 female warriors to guard here. At the same time, he handed a bite bag to Lisa, the leader of the 5. Someone will come to take this capsule later, and the code is like this. Leaving North Blue, he went to South Blue, West Blue, and East Blue, leaving a team of 5 people in each sea area, and phone bugs respectively to report information to him at any time. Before leaving East Blue, he asked Paji, the head of East Blue's intelligence network, to look for the island of Sixus, which contained Mara Mara fruit. At sea, Bai, who was about to leave East Blue after a trip to Logue Town, suddenly became stunned and asked Salome to park the boat on a nearby island. Let's take a rest here. Hancock and others didn't care why he had to rest. Yamato and the 2 went to the island happily to play. Bai sat in the cabin and touched his chin. Why did Brother Ming suddenly come to East Blue? He felt the monitor he put in Mingji's clothes appear in East Blue, which meant that Mingji had also arrived here. Isn't he going to enter the underground world? Why come to East Blue? Is Archibald in East Blue? Close your eyes and cross your legs, focus on the puppet, and start to control the puppet. North Blue, the doll standing quietly on the side of the ship blowing the sea breeze suddenly opened his eyes, and there seemed to be some mysterious color in his eyes. Looking back, the Monet sisters were still practicing hard. The 2 sisters have good talents. They had obtained Chi Sense half a month ago and began to practice at a deeper level. Monet is practicing the phantom body barrier, and Sugar is actually quite talented in talismans. In just half a month, she was able to draw the simplest disaster-repelling talisman, which could eliminate the evil spirit within a certain range. This gave him some other ideas. Sail the boat to St. Ronzoa, let Monet and 2 people guard the boat, and he sets foot on the island alone. The 2 of them, Monet, have become accustomed to this kind of life. They keep the ship in order. After completing the cleaning work every day, they practice according to Beb's teachings. The dolls rarely speak, except to teach them how to practice. But from time to time he would capture large sea beasts, and go to other islands to buy a full set of kitchen equipment, as well as new beds, quilts and other daily necessities for the Monet sisters. In their hearts, although the man who saved them was taciturn, he was very kind to them. The 2 of them have decided in their hearts that they will use their lives to repay Lord Yongye from now on. On the island, Doll came to a tavern in a familiar way. Although it had not been open for a long time, it was managed well by Lisa and the other 5. Sir, what do you want to drink? Lisa described herself beautifully and had a rather charming smile. The tavern run by 5 beautiful girls is very popular. Although there are those with evil intentions who covet their bodies, these female warriors are carefully selected by Bai Yi and are all of superior strength. What's more, everyone has armament hockey, so it's not difficult to deal with those rubbish guys from North Blue who don't even know what hockey is. The doll quietly came to Lisa's side, and its strange movements made Lisa change her expression. Because she recognized that this was Master Bai Yi's ghost walk. Sticking next to Lisa, the puppet said in a natural voice, "I want the best wine you have here." Then he spoke softly, "I'm here to get something." Lisa didn't look back, and said, "The earth shakes the mountains, and the mountains and rivers are as beautiful as ever." The puppet followed and replied, "The door faces the sea, and the river flows 10,000 years." Lisa confirmed that the code was correct, took out the bite bag from under the bar counter, and handed it to the puppet along with a bottle of wine. The puppet nodded and left again. Back on the boat, there was no incident. Take out the contents of the capsule. Here are 2 wooden boxes with 2 devil fruit inside. Coming to the Monet sisters, let's rest for a while. The 2 of them finished their practice obediently, and Sugar looked at Bai Yi with big curious eyes. "Do you have any orders, sir?" Bai Yi placed 2 devil fruits in front of the 2 of them. "Here are 2 devil fruits. If you eat them, you will gain devil-like abilities, but you will become landlubbers from now on. Do you want to eat them?" Monet thought for a while and replied, "If the adults need us to eat, we will eat. If the adults don't need it, we won't eat. We listen to the adults." Sugar also nodded along with her sister's words and said that she did the same. Bai Yi was very satisfied with the sisters' loyalty and placed 2 fruits in front of them. "Then eat. This one is in the butterfly form of zone insect fruit. It is for Monet. This one is a paramecia paper fruit, for Sugar." In the original plot, when Monet and Sugar first joined Mingzhe, they were given devil fruit. In other words, snow fruit and tongchu fruit are both in Mingzhe's hands at this moment. Bai Yi felt that he could find a way to get it. Although there are no original fruits now, these 2 are not bad. Since Bai Yi wants them to eat, the 2 girls naturally obey. The fruit is very unpleasant to eat. Don't spit it out, just swallow it. The puppet ordered and the 2 of them obeyed. Each took a bite, and his little face suddenly wrinkled into a chrysanthemum. They will remember the delicious and unique taste of devil fruit for a lifetime. Just like Bai Yi still can't forget the taste of op fruit. After eating it, they carefully felt the changes in their bodies. The first person to channel demonic abilities was Monet. Her snow-white offspring sprouted 2 pairs of transparent butterfly wings with a blue halo. The wings are very big, with a wingspan of 2 meters. A pair of slender tentacles appeared on its forehead, its eyes turned into compound eyes, and an arm grew out of its left and right waist. This is the human animal form of the butterfly. How does it feel? Bai Yi doesn't know what the insect fruit's butterfly form is capable of, but at least it can fly. Monet spread her wings into the sky, flew for a while and then turned into a real butterfly. Then she returned to the boat. She told Bai Yi her feelings. "In addition to flying, the antennae on top of my head can capture the tiniest odor molecules in the air and enhance hearing. Compound eyes have greatly enhanced my visual ability. Not only do they have a wider field of vision, they can also detect the polarization direction of light, filter out some excess light, and reduce the interference of light on vision, allowing me to quickly adapt to various light environments. The last thing is the extra pair of arms on the waist. I think this will be of great help in combat and work." Bai Yi nodded secretly. Overall, the 5 senses were greatly improved, but the bonus to physical strength and defense was not much. This characteristic may make him better at the practice of seeing, hearing, and seeing. Monet's experiment is over, and Sugar can finally use devil fruit's abilities. She stretched out a hand, and the hand turned into pieces of white paper, scattered around. Then, pieces of white paper appeared again on her broken arm, and they joined together to form a complete arm. The doll slashed with a knife, and the chopped part immediately turned into scraps of paper. When the blade scratched, the body reconstructed new paper and turned into flesh. It looks a bit like Logia. It's just that this thing doesn't have any combat effectiveness. But not necessarily. Bai Yi specially gave Sugar the devil fruit for a special purpose. "Can you only transform into white paper?" Sugar thought for a moment and said, "As long as it's paper, it's fine." As she spoke, white paper, Cardboard, papyrus, yellow paper, toilet paper, and parchment began to float out of her body. Question mark. Wait, what the hell is parchment? Is this thing paper? Sugar blinked her big innocent eyes with a silly look on her face. Parchment is also paper, as long as it's paper, it's fine. Damn it. Bai Yi was shocked. Buggy paper, square fiber paper, etc., develop it and cover it with armament hockey. There are many fun things you can do. Sure enough, we still have to rely on paramecia for flower work. But now, you can create yellow paper and try to draw talismans on it. Sugar does the same. Set up an altar, use chi, cinnabar, and eye phoenix. Bai Yi did not teach Sugar the Tongtian Lu, but the ordinary talisman method. But Sugar is really talented in this area. 3 hours later, a Qingxin talisman was drawn, and Xiaozu Tang was so tired that he was sweating profusely. Picking up the doll and feeling it, you can immediately confirm that it is real. It works. Can you take it into your body? As soon as Sartang stretched out his hand, the talisman was integrated into his body, and there was nothing unusual about it from the outside. Master Yi, I can feel that after being taken into my body, the power in the talisman will no longer flow away. Bai Yi is overjoyed. Just as I guessed, ordinary talismans are not only troublesome to draw, but even if you want to draw them in advance and use them when facing an enemy, the power of the drawn talismans will decrease over time. And eventually turned into a plain yellow paper. But with Sugar's paper fruit, even if she doesn't have the heavenly urn, she can draw enough talismans beforehand, and when she faces the enemy, she will scatter them all out, even faster than the heavenly urn can be drawn on the spot. 600 billion detonating talismans to blow the enemy to pieces. Haha, Sugar can be even more exaggerated. Isn't this better than the childlike fruit? Although it is not so unsolvable, the application range is much wider. These two people will become a pair of powerful men under his command in the future. Sensing Ming Ji's location, they set sail for East Blue. On the way, after gaining the ability of Devil Fruit, Yuanru and Sugar practiced harder. Just as he expected, Monet's talent for seeing and hearing colors has greatly improved, and Sugar's speed at drawing symbols is getting faster and faster. Even when they just emerged from the bottom of the sea, Sugar was able to draw the first lethal talisman, Heavenly Sword Demon Subduing Talisman. When the talisman was completed, she sprinkled it into the sky to activate the chi in it. Suddenly, a pale golden sword appeared in the air. Go! Sugar raised his finger in the air, and the sword suddenly stabbed down, cutting a sea beast that wanted to attack the ship in half. Xiaozu Tang smiled happily. Master Yi, am I great? Bai Yi couldn't help laughing when he saw the little girl's expression asking for praise. But the puppet still had a straight face and said calmly, the power is too small, we still need to work hard. Suddenly, Sugar's little mouth pouted and she ate the grapes sadly. Bai Yi knew that she liked ordinary food, so he bought a large box for her on an island. It was enough for her to eat for a week. Sail the boat towards Brother Ming's location. Finally, 5 days later, he saw a pirate ship flying the flag of the Don Quixote family on the shore of a desert island. Intuitively, Brother Ming would not do anything unnecessary. He took out a monocular from the capsule and put it on his eyes. Suddenly, a small field of vision appeared in front of his eyes. The first thing that catches the eye is countless pink fluff. That's the hair on the coat that Brother Ming is wearing, and the monitor is hidden here. Through the fluff, you can see the outside world. The surroundings were dark, and Brother Ming's voice still echoed. Lagging, lagging, lagging. I didn't expect that the famous night ghost Solomon would be hiding in the underground palace on the deserted island of East Blue. No wonder no one has ever found him. Torbal, who was next to him, laughed and said, no matter how well he hides, he will still surrender to the young master after all. Diamante said, when the young master becomes the king of the underground world, we can plan to capture Dressrosa. With the young master's string fruit and the childlike fruit, our plan is foolproof. Chapter 111. On the sea, the doll said to Monet, you guys wait for me here, I will go to the island. Ming Zhe and others discovered the underground palace on the desert island, which is most likely Solomon's hiding place. There are rumors all over the world that this person has hundreds of palaces all over the world, and no one knows his whereabouts. Even his subordinates, Morgans and others, found it difficult to see him in person. Even Ben Beckman, who is said to have the highest IQ on the sea, guessed his hiding place. Sensing the location of the monitor, he quickly found the entrance to the underground palace. Tisk, tisk, on such a deserted island, who would have thought that the emperor of the dark world is hidden? The doll sauntered forward, taking out individual talismans from its pouch as it walked toward the inside, and pasted them on the walls of the passages on both sides. This is the talisman practiced after the main body obtained the Tongtian Rui. It is to better teach Sugar, so Bai Yi did a little research on the structure of the talisman, and handed these things to Lisa in the North Blue Tavern through the bite bag, and delivered them to the doll together with devil fruit. At sea, Monet, who was practicing martial arts on the deck, suddenly saw a large wooden board floating in the waves in front of him, with a person lying on the board. Su Tang, look at that man as if he was seriously injured. Mener pulled over the Sugar that was eating grapes and practicing drawing talismans, and pointed at the wooden board that was gradually drifting towards him. Even though the wooden board has been washed by seawater, it is still stained with bloodline. After one glance, Sugar just said, "Oh," and was not interested. He reached out and inserted another grape from the bamboo basket hanging on his waist, put it into his mouth happily, and then continued to draw the talismans. Monet said, "Should we rescue him?" Sugar said nonchalantly, "We were saved by Master Yi, and our lives also belong to Master Yi. Master Yi didn't say that we wanted to save him. If you save him and make Master Yi angry." Sugar's words made sense, but Monet thought about his own experience and finally decided to rescue this man. What if I conserve Lord Yi? So she thought. Pulling a cable from the ship, she transformed into the human animal form of a butterfly and flew up into the sky, tied the cable to the man's body, lifted him up, and carried him to the ship. After getting on the boat, she said the man had turned over. But he saw a scar running across his chest. There were also cuts on his abdomen, and the scarlet intestines in his abdominal cavity were even faintly visible. This person looks like just a teenager, but the muscles in his arms have become rough. He was breathing rapidly and his body was hot due to the serious injury. These two wounds are only the deepest scars. In addition, it can be seen from his tattered clothes that he has experienced a miserable battle. Monet sent him to a spare room, cleaned his chest wound with a hot towel, and fed him a few mouthfuls of warm fresh water. At the door, Sugar appeared out of nowhere. While eating grapes, she muttered, "Sister, if Lord Yi is unhappy, he will punish you." As she said that, she gently kicked the unconscious boy. "My sister saved you like this, so you must not be a waste. Repay Master Yi well, and it will also make Master Yi look at my sister with admiration." Monet quickly stopped Granu. "He is seriously injured, stop kicking." Snort. Sugar snorted, ate the grapes and left. After Sugar left, Monet put a hot towel on his forehead and whispered, "I see that you are not a mediocre person. I hope you can repay Master Yi's kindness when you come back to life. Otherwise, I will not spare you." I don't know if the comatose boy heard it, or maybe a mouthful of fresh water entered his throat to revive his life. He actually hummed slightly. Monet returned to his house, took out some medicine, and applied it to his wound. These dolls were purchased for the Monet sisters to prevent them from getting hurt. In the underground palace on the island, the doll has been staring at the scene in the monocular in front of him. At this moment, Brother Ming and his 3 core cadres had easily killed the guards of the underground palace and appeared in the center of the underground palace with great swagger. Here, the decoration is extremely luxurious, with countless gold, silver, jade, and various kinds of treasures. Sitting on a luxurious leather sofa was an extremely muscular man. He was only wearing a pair of shorts, holding a beautiful woman wearing nothing on each hand. Don Quixote da Flamingo. It seems that Solomon is not surprised by Brother Ming's sudden appearance. "I wonder why you are here." He behaved calmly. In the huge underground palace, 200 masked killers wearing hard armor and sharp blades quietly appeared. They surrounded the 4 of Ming Jie. Shi. Brother Ming let out his signature laugh. The laughter was wild and wanton. "Solomon Archibald, king of the underworld, submit to me and I will spare your life." Even though he was surrounded by many killers, Brother Ming was still fearless. Not only him, but also the 3 cadres behind him showed no fear. "You want me to surrender?" Solomon was smiling, and another gauze beauty brought wine to him, and he took a sip. However, Everyone who is familiar with him knows that Solomon is extremely angry now. And there is only one result for those who angered him. No bones left. Not to mention your little Don Quixote family, even the 4 emperors are not qualified to make me surrender. Kill him. He gave an order, and 200 killers came to kill the 4 of Brother Ming at the same time. Really, Brother Ming was very crazy. He glanced at the killers surrounding him. Do you think you can protect yourself with these trash? His fingers danced like playing a piano, and all the killers surrounding him suddenly turned around and went to attack Solomon. So Longman's eyes narrowed, but he still didn't take action. The hard ground in front of him suddenly rose up, and a strange man covered in hard scales, holding a serrated blade in his hand, killed all the Roran killers who turned against him. Oh, Zone's ability user. Brother Ming saw the details of this sudden appearance at a glance. After killing these killers, the scale-armored monster slowly turned around and knelt down on one knee to Solomon. Your Majesty, the rebels have been eliminated. This man actually called Solomon, Your Majesty, which shows that Solomon already regarded himself as the real king. Solomon nodded lightly and said softly, Kill him. He was talking about Brother Ming, and the scale-armored weirdo replied respectfully, Yes. The puppet quietly came to the underground palace in a state of illusory body barrier, and leisurely watched the confrontation between Ming Jie and Solomon. Pressy Bronte, Zone Pangolin Fruit Power User. The scale-armored monster put the long serrated knife on the ground and looked directly at Ming Jie and others indifferently. By the order of His Majesty Solomon, I grant you the death penalty. The puppet leaning at the entrance of the palace was amazed. This Solomon is really crazy, and this Bronte, if you want to fight, just fight him, and introduce yourself first. Are you afraid that others don't know his ability? The serrated broadsword slashed down with a bang, but before it was about to chop on Brother Ming's head, it was blocked by a huge boulder that suddenly stretched out. Crocus Stone. This is Pika's move. His feet merged into the earth, and the hard rocky ground suddenly rose up, turning into 8 huge tentacles that surrounded Bronte. Bronte was not afraid and pushed his head covered with scales through the hard rock. I'm a pangolin. No matter how hard the rock is, I can penetrate it. After cutting through the rock, Bronte continued to slash at Ming Jie with his knife. Stonebite. Pika manipulated the rock to turn into heads like his own, and bit Bronte. But he was penetrated by Bronte again. I told you, I'm a pangolin, your abilities are useless to me. With his abilities restrained, Pika felt a little aggrieved, but his strength went beyond that. He melted his body into the ground, absorbed all the rocks on the island, and turned into a huge stone giant. He made a sharp roar, and the entire underground palace began to collapse. Gone. The puppet who was watching the show cursed and quickly used the earthly immortal to blend into the ground. When the roaring stopped, he emerged from the earth. At this moment, the huge underground palace had disappeared. A huge stone giant 10 feet long smashed his chest angrily, but Bronte's figure had disappeared. When Bai Yi was confused, the huge stone giant collapsed again, Pika's body vomited blood and flew out, and Bronte's sword was slashing at his chest. If it hadn't been for the hardening of the weapon's color to withstand this fatal knife, Pika would have died at this time. I told you, I am a pangolin. No matter how hard the rock is, I can penetrate it. Bronte's sword is merciless. Since this stone man wants to stop him, he must kill him first. Pika was frustrated, which Brother Ming did not expect, and signaled to Diamante. Half Moon Funeral. Diamante used his sword skills and struck Bronte with a sharp sword energy, forcing him to retreat. Solomon was still sitting on the sofa, squeezing the plumpness of the beauty next to him, and calmly watching the battle. After the underground palace collapsed, 2 beauties walked out of the dust and cleaned the dirt off his body. Diamante knocked back Bronte with one sword, and when she was about to attack the man with Pika, a figure suddenly appeared as fast as a phantom, holding a western knife, and slashed him away with one blow. Don't interfere in the battle over there. The figure of the visitor emerged from the dust. He was wearing a handsome tuxedo and white gloves on his hands. He looks like a gentleman on his way to a dinner party. But his eyes were as sharp as a sword, so Diamante had to give up her plan to join forces with Pika and instead focus on facing this person. Ming Jie stared at this person with his eyes, and after a while, he uttered, Shadowless Sword. Hogel, the once world-famous swordsman, turned out to be Solomon's lackey. Hogel was not angry at his ridicule. it is the greatest honor of my life to serve your majesty. Doflamingo, do you think I've been hiding because I'm afraid of the strongest people in the world? Solomon laughed loudly. I just don't like meaningless disputes. You want to challenge me, but you're still young. Really? Brother Ming was also laughing wildly. Okay. This is what the king of the underground world should look like. If you have any other means, just use them. Torebel, the last senior cadre around him, fired countless mucus from his body towards Solomon. Slimy launch and run. The slime he shoots is extremely tough and can easily penetrate walls. Once it hits a person, even if it cannot penetrate the enemy, it can still stick to it, making it difficult for the enemy to move. However, a fat man suddenly fell from the sky, raised a minigun and fired wildly at Torbal. His body was covered with bullet chains, the bullets shattered all the mucus, and more bullets were still shooting towards Torbal. Bullets pierced Torbal's slimy body. Torbal was not harmed at all. How can it be? Fatty couldn't believe it. My ultimate fires seastone bullets. Even if you are a Logia user, you will still die from my bullets. Why are you okay? Naturally, Torebel would not tell him that he was not Logia and that his fat body was just a cover up with mucus. His body is hidden in mucus, and through observation hockey, he avoids bullets fired at his body. As for the mucus being shot through, it has no effect on him. Seeing that all three of his cadres were stopped by the enemy, Doflamingo was no longer as calm as before. He frowned and fired a bullet string at Solomon. This time, no one could protect Solomon from harm. The only personal guards around him should be the three people in front of him. But with the strength he has shown so far, Solomon is not weaker than any Shichibukai force. If you include the underground world under his control, his power is probably the strongest among the Shichibukai. Pushing away the beauties on his body, Solomon's body began to change. Another kind of scales different from those of pangolins covered his body, and he could block the bright bullet string just by relying on this scales. What he paid for was just a dent on his scales. Kid, you want to challenge me? You're not qualified yet. Solomon pulled out a mountain-breaking axe from the back of the sofa. His face became longer, his body was black and green, and there was a long tail covered with scales trailing behind his buttocks. I am a user with the ability of the fish fruit, ancient species, and pig crocodile. He roared and struck down with his axe. Brother Ming quickly weaved silk thread and covered it with armed colors to resist the attack. Clang! The giant axe cut through countless layers of defense, and Fang Shangmingming was unstoppable. Spider's web wall. With the help of the ruins of the underground palace, a spider web woven from silk threads appeared in front of him. The big axe only paused for a moment before chopping Spider's web wall into pieces. However, after this blockage, the power of the axe was also exhausted. After all, Brother Ming at this moment has not yet completed the fruit awakening, and his strength has not yet reached its peak. Controlling the underground world is more difficult than he imagined. The Don Quixote family was at odds with Solomon's power. What a wonderful battle! Bai Yi, who controlled the puppet and saw this battle, was very excited. On the battlefield, Pika's abilities were restrained and he could only use hockey to fight. Now his body has suffered 7 or 8 stab wounds. Torebel relied on his outstanding knowledge and ability to be unknown, and was slowly wearing away Fatty's seastone bullets. Although Diamante's swordsmanship was not as good as that of the great swordsman Hogel, coupled with her own fruit ability, the battle between the two sides became anxious. Brother Ming, here, from being suppressed and beaten at the beginning, to now turning from defense to offense. I have to say that Brother Ming is indeed a genius. Growing rapidly in battle is an ability that only the protagonist can possess. But Brother Ming is actually growing up. Bai Yi even suspected that Brother Ming's fruit could awaken Gu, and it might have something to do with this battle. The battle lasted for half a day, and the entire desert island was almost shattered by them. Ming Jie took advantage of the gap to block Solomon with the Shadow Knight string doll, while he attacked Bronte from behind and killed the pangolin man. As soon as Bronte died, Pika immediately joined forces with Torbal to attack the fat man using the machine gun. Unfortunately, he consumed too much physical energy and could no longer use the fruit's abilities. However, with his excellent physical skills, he also forced the fat man to panic. Solomon was furious and used his big axe to chop the Shadow Knight string substitute, intending to kill Ming Shi. However, the balance of victory had tilted the moment Bronte was killed in a sneak attack by Ming Jie. Another hour later, the fat man who used seastone bullets ran out of bullets. He pulled out his waist knife but was stopped by Pika. Torebel pinned him to the ground with a shot of mucus, and then his head was twisted off by Pika. You lose. Brother Ming spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at Solomon, who was tied into a rice dumpling. Solomon's right arm had been cut off by him and his leg bones had been fractured. Even with Zone's super recovery power, it will take a long time to regain combat strength. Unless Solomon can wake up. But obviously, Solomon did not have this ability. While suturing the wounds on his body with silk thread, he said to Hogel, who was defeated and lying on the ground, "Submit to me, or die." However, even if Hogel was about to die, he still spat and smeared it at Brother Ming with disdain. Bah! You want me to betray His Majesty Solomon? Dreaming. If you want to kill, kill. Ming Jie's forehead is throbbing with veins. He claims to have an amazing personality, but who would have thought that this person would be so disrespectful to himself? If that's the case, then let him fulfill it. Kill. Diamante pierced Hogel's heart with a sword. Call your men over here. After killing Hogel, Mingay threatened Solomon, the king of the underworld. He is just a defeated dog. Apparently King Solomon was not as brave as his men. After a moment of silence, he said, "My phone is under the sofa, the only one who can contact my subordinates." Brother Ming was just about to get the phone bug from the sofa when suddenly, countless thunderclouds appeared on the island. There is also a sword made of spiritual energy hanging in the air. This is. While he was still doubting, thunder struck down from the sky, bringing countless swords down like raindrops. Pika and others were almost exhausted, looking at the scene in front of them in despair. Ming Jie gritted his teeth, weaved countless spiders' web walls, and covered them with armed colors to withstand thunder and sword rain. Thunder and sword light illuminated the isolated island, and the sound of thunder resounded for 10 full minutes. When the dark clouds dispersed and the sky cleared, Brother Ming was extremely embarrassed. The three of them fell into a coma completely. Only Solomon, who was tied up, was fine. The thunder and sword rain seemed to avoid him intentionally. Staring at Solomon fiercely, he thought that all this was Solomon's backhand, but when he saw Solomon's surprised eyes, he knew that there were other people here. His intuition was not good, so he quickly pulled back and looked around cautiously. Phew! There was a soft sound, and he quickly turned around, feeling his heart beating suddenly. He immediately wrapped his chest with military colors and twisted his body with all his strength. When he turned around, he found a man in black holding Pika and Diamante by their necks. As for Torbal, his heart has been ripped out. "Hey, Doflamingo, long time no see." Bai Yi greeted him with a smile. After killing Torbal, he originally wanted to continue killing Brother Ming, but unexpectedly, Brother Ming reacted very quickly after being weak from the battle. The opponent has the ability to fly. Since he can't succeed in one hit, it will be difficult to kill him this time. Man, he did not continue to kill Pika and Diamante. Instead, they held these two people hostage. "It's you." Brother Ming was furious. He had once had a relationship with this man and almost died at his hands. The opponent's body seems to be made of seastone, which poses a great threat to him. "What do you want?" He took a deep breath, knowing that he had been tricked. Since the other party is not from Solomon, he is also someone who covets the throne of the underground world. Now both himself and Solomon suffer losses, and this man gains from it. Even two of his closest cadres were held hostage by him. But since the other party doesn't directly kill Pika and the two, it means that there is still talk, but they don't know what the other party wants. One devil fruit can change a person, it's fair, right? Bai Yi smiled. The bounty for these two people is 99 million, and a devil fruit is worth 100 million. It does seem reasonable, but money is easy to make, but fruits are hard to find. Once devil fruit appears, it is often hard to find it for a huge sum of money. It is said to be 100 million, and the price it is sold for often exceeds this price. I want it now, and I want it as long as the devil fruit. If the devil fruit is not in my hands within 10 minutes, you can take the bodies of these two people back. Looking at the doll's smile, really, Brother Ming was shaking with anger. The other party didn't give him a chance to negotiate, and he seemed to know that he would reap the rewards now. But these core cadres are his confidants. They have been following him since he was a child. He has regarded them as family members, so he must save them no matter what. Timing begins. The doll smiled and took out a watch and waved it in front of him. 10 minutes, you don't have much time. Brother Ming had no choice but to tie the clouds in the sky with a thread and quickly move to the sea. His ship was on the seaside, where there were several devil fruits. In memory, at this time Senor, Jorah, Gladius, Mahabast and others had all joined the Don Quixote family for many years. Even Buffalo and Baby, who joined later, have obtained devil fruit, so there is a high probability that these people have become ability users. So, the only fruits that Brother Ming can take out now are snow fruit and childlike fruit. Soon, Brother Ming returned. This time, he brought Senor and others to prevent Bai Yi from cheating. 2 fruits, you let them go first. Brother Ming held a wooden box in one hand, but did not hand it directly to Bai Yi. I'm alone, what are you afraid of? Bai Yi chuckled. You brought so many people here, if I kill them, it will be difficult for me to leave. 11. In this way, to show sincerity, I will release one person first, you will send a fruit, then you will send another fruit, and I will release another person. It is fair. Brother Ming was angry, but helpless. Okay. Bai Yi threw Pika over first, Senor quickly caught Pika's body, and Ming Jie also kept his promise and sent a fruit to the feet of the doll with a white thread. Very good, then we will have a second transaction. You will deliver the fruit first, and then I will let you go. Brother Ming had no choice but to do as he was told, but Bai Yi didn't use any tricks. He threw Diamante over and was held in Mahabazi's arms. What's your name? The 2 men were rescued safely, and Brother Ming was relieved. He asked Gladius to take Torbol's body and ask Bai Yi for his name. Me. Bai Yi smiled and said, Shaolin Yang Diangye. If you want to seek revenge from me, I'll be with you anytime. Brother Ming took a deep look at him and wanted to remember his appearance in his heart. Shaolin Yang Diangye, I will remember it. He did not continue to say harsh words, and asked the cadres to take the 2 wounded to retreat immediately, while he broke up the rear alone. After Ming Jie and others left, Bai Yi took the tied Solomon to the other side of the desert island. A knife struck his main artery, and Solomon closed his eyes and fell unconscious. Putting it on the shore, he sat here and waited. 5 days later, a ship passed nearby. Bai Yi didn't alert anyone, and used Op Fruit's ability to directly cross the hull into the sea water, and quickly swam to the shore. After arriving on the shore, used the ability of Op Fruit again to remove Solomon's heart, put it in a wooden box, give it to the puppet, and then return to the Don. The whole process was carried out quietly. After returning to the Don, he once again manipulated the puppet to convey the message to the Monet sisters and asked them to sail over. Bring the unconscious Solomon to the ship, and also bring the phone bug that he used to contact his subordinates. Monet and the other 2 saw him leading a tied-up unconscious man. Although they were curious, they did not ask. Master Yi BEBC, I rescued a young man who was seriously injured and unconscious. On the boat, Monet confessed to Bai Yi about saving people. Save people, Bai Yi frowned. Who can save people without my permission? Monet was flustered, but he still explained. Sir, I see that he has battle scars all over his body, he might be useful to you. Snort. The puppet snorted coldly. Useful. You are not allowed to bring people on board without my permission. I'm going to stand on the deck for a whole day, and I won't be allowed to eat all day today. Monet whispered. Yes. As a result, just as she was preparing to receive punishment, a stubborn young man's voice came from behind. This sister saved me. If you want to punish me, just punish me. The doll turned around and saw a boy wrapped in bandages walking out of the cabin. His body seemed a little weak, but his voice was full of strength. May I have your name? Bai Yi asked. The boy replied loudly. My name is Ajin. A wanderer on the sea. Bai Yi was famous and looked him up and down. Ah Jin, is this Ah Jin from Krieg? Judging from his age, it is most likely him. Now that Krieg is dead, Jin can no longer join the Krieg pirates. How can you wander on the sea with such a weak body? If a pirate comes, you will be thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Akin refused to accept. I killed an entire pirate group by myself. Although I was seriously injured, I am strong. This is the reason why he was seriously injured and drifting on the sea. You want to be punished on Monet's behalf? Bai Yi asked. Ah Jin solemnly said, Miss Monet saved me. If you want to punish me for this, you should punish me too. She is innocent. On the contrary, he is as loyal as Ah Jin in his memory. But Bai Yi wanted to test him again. Okay, I'll give you this opportunity. Granulated sugar. He called to Sugar. You have a fight with Ah Jin. If you win, your sister won't be punished. If you lose, you can't eat grapes for a month. At the same time, he said to Ajin, if you win, you can take the punishment instead of Monet. But if you lose, you will die. This is to prevent them from getting stuck. Sugar doesn't care about Ah Jin. If he doesn't let her eat grapes, it's better to let her die. Although Ah Jin is willing to be punished for Monet, he is not willing to die. The two agreed. What weapon do you use? Bai Yi asked. Ah Jin said, I used a pair of crutches with iron balls on the heads, but the weapons were lost in the sea. Besides, I don't need to use weapons to deal with a little girl. Weapons can also match, it is indeed Ajin. The puppet took out a pair of iron rods from the bite bag. The iron crutches are useless, use this instead. Ajin refused because he believed that weapons could not be used against his benefactor's sister. But Sugar would not show mercy. A piece of yellow paper flew out of his body and turned into a spiritual sword and fell from the sky. Ah Jin was shocked and quickly picked up the iron rod on the ground. Without a weapon, he would be hacked to death. Although the self-created ghost man fighting method is not yet mature, it has a rudimentary shape. After barely breaking the spirit sword, he quickly charged towards Sugar. Sugar waved a talisman again, this time it was a spiritual sword. This is the first attack talisman she has learned. Bai Yi says she can't bite off more than she can chew, so she has been working hard to study this talisman, constantly improving her proficiency in the power of the talisman. During these days, she was able to draw an average of 2 talismans every day, and she accumulated a total of 21 talismans. Spirit swords fell one after another, and Ah Jin responded hastily, or tried his best to avoid them. After he dodges, the puppet will smash the spirit sword to prevent damage to the hull. Finally, after the 15th spiritual sword fell and shattered the iron rod in his hand, the puppet saved him at the critical moment. After all, he was too young and still seriously injured. Being able to carry 15 heavenly swords and demon-subduing talismans in a row already showed his talent. Of course, this is because Granu's own cultivation level is not high, and the power of the talismans he makes is limited. I lost, kill me. Ajin was frustrated and threw away the other iron rod. He was willing to admit defeat. Since he lost, he was also willing to die. Ah Jin was frustrated not only because he was willing to admit defeat, but also because he was discouraged by being defeated by a 10-year-old girl. He thought he was so strong that he could even destroy a small pirate group. But today, he just knew what it means to be someone outside the world, and there is a world outside the world. You lose, from now on, your life is mine. The puppet spoke calmly. Ajin was still confused, but Monet already understood what he meant. He quickly kicked Ah Jin. Idiot. Mr. Yi is willing to take you in, why don't you meet Mr. Yi quickly? Ah Jin said dumbly, greetings, Mr. Yi. He didn't know why he wanted to see Bai Yi, but since his benefactor said so, he did so. Bai Yi said calmly, well, if you work with me, I can make you stronger. As a reward for your surrender to me, I allow you to be punished in Monet's place. Yes, Ah Jin listened to this sentence, at least he did not implicate his benefactor. He consciously stood in the corner of the deck, endured the pain in his body and remained silent. After dealing with Ah Jin's matter, Bai Yi kicked Solomon who was lying next to him pretending to be dead. Get up, I know you're not dead. Solomon opened his eyes, and the threads that bound him had long since disappeared as Brother Ming left. Zone's strong recovery power also allowed him to recover most of his injuries. Except for a broken arm. But he didn't dare to act rashly. On the one hand, he saw the power of the man in black in front of him, and on the other hand, he found that his heart was missing. Although I don't know why my heart is gone, I am not dead. But this must have something to do with the man in black in front of him. The doll took out the heart from the sack and placed it in front of Solomon. This is your heart. As long as I pinch it lightly, it will burst and you will die. Solomon's pupils shrank, but he didn't dare to move. Obey me from now on and I will protect you from death. Solomon was silent and finally said, Yes, master. He is a person who is greedy for life and afraid of death, so he is threatened by Brother Ming. Now it's just a different person. Moreover, if he loses to Brother Ming, once Brother Ming finishes using him, he will definitely die. But the person in front of me seemed to need to sit in front of him to attract other people's attention. In this way, he has value, which is obviously better than Brother Chu Ming. After careful questioning, Bai Yi determined that Solomon indeed only contacted the outside world through a phone bug. As for the death of Bronte and others, it has nothing to do with it. Feld and others only recognized his phone bug and himself, and everything else could be replaced at any time. That's good, Bai Yi breathed a sigh of relief. This means that as long as Solomon is captured, it is equivalent to initially capturing the underground world. But it's not stable yet. Various parts of the underground world do not yet recognize themselves, and they do not trust them. Therefore, we must slowly replace the heads of each department with our own people. The candidates are Monet, Sugar, and Ajin. But they are too weak now and still have many things to learn. The next day, after standing all day and being allowed to rest by Bai Yi, Ajin passed out with relief. He was already severely injured, and his injuries were further aggravated during the battle with Sugar. After another day of standing at sea without any water, my body was overdrawn again. But he was in good health. After Bai Yi took him back to the room, he woke up after being in a coma for a day. After drinking a bowl of meat porridge, he felt much better. Then, Bai Yi taught him the method of practicing qi. In the cabin, he took out 2 wooden boxes from the capsule, which were the devil fruit that Brother Ming exchanged for hostages. One of them is like a pomegranate, with 6 snowflake-like white protrusions on the surface, and silver curling lines on the petals. This image is most likely a snow fruit. As for the other one, it looks very strange, shaped like a red winter jujube. The fruit is relatively small, and the lines in it are very dense. Is this a childlike fruit? Not sure. Bai Yi opened his eyes, opened the devil fruit illustrated book and started to check it out. Finally, when he reached a third of the page, he secretly cursed Brother Ming for being cunning. Gone. He really can't bear to part with the childlike fruit. This fruit, as shown in the illustrated book, is just an ordinary zone, named cat fruit lion form. That's okay. Lions are also considered powerful among the common zone species. The core cadres can have devil fruit, and each one is unique. They can also take out the fruits for auction. The fruits Ming Jie has are beyond imagination. The ability of the childlike fruit is an important step for Ming Jie to capture Dressrosa. Even if Sugar is intercepted by himself, he will definitely find other substitutes to perform this task on his behalf. Therefore, he will definitely not hand over this fruit. After doing all this, he received another reward from the system. Prevent Doflamingo from controlling the underground world. Allow yourself to initially control the underground world, and kill Torbal, the core cadre of the Don Quixote family. You have greatly changed the future, and the world line will undergo major changes. Reward Samadhi True Fire. Boom. As the system's voice fell, Bai Yi felt a mysterious fire burning in his dantian. The fire was warm and overbearing, and seemed to have a restraining effect on the soul. 0. If he meets Auntie in the future, the ability of the soul fruit will be like seeing a mouse on a cat in front of him. He can beat Auntie by kneeling down and calling her daddy. But that's not all. He felt that when this flame was in his body, it could continuously burn the impurities in his body. You must know that his body has been transformed by the Luku immortal thief, and has the capital to become a saint, with almost no impurities. However, looking inside, he could still feel that something was burned to ashes by the 3-flavored fire. These impurities seem to be not only in the body, but also implicated in one's soul. It seems to be some side effects of devil fruit. Only now did he believe that devil fruit really has a soul. So, will the future 5th tier Luffy be abandoned? This is unknown. However, with the Samadhi True Fire, not only do you have more ways to deal with the soul, but you can also speed up the elimination of the side effects of devil fruit. In fact, 95% of the side effects of op fruit have been eliminated. But the last 5 progressed slowly. Since the Samadhi True Fire fell into his body, he suddenly felt that the last 5% was slowly disappearing. Once the side effects are completely gone, he can take the second devil fruit. Look at Blackbeard. After eating the second fruit, he was immediately promoted from the Shichibukai level to the Four Emperors level, and you will know the terrifying power of the double fruit. Of course, Blackbeard eats the strongest dark fruit and shock fruit. But even if it is other fruits, the bonus to combat power should not be underestimated. After initially taking over the underground world, the first task Bai Yi gave Solomon was to find the whereabouts of Nico Robin. Then, he took a few people to slowly cross the upside-down mountain and headed to the capital of Seven Waters. Tom has his own help, and the speed of building the sea train will increase a lot. Calculating the time, if it is fast, it should be in the middle of this year, if it is slow, it will be at the end of the year, so he has to keep an eye on it in advance. After dealing with the doll's affairs, Bai Yi was about to take people away when he saw a fire burning on the island. The fire spread, the wooden houses burned, and then the sounds of fighting came, mixed with screams of terror. You don't need to think about it to know that this is an ordinary pirate robbery incident. This kind of thing happens every day on the sea. However, today's group of pirates is very unlucky. They had just set off a fire, and every day a group of gangsters armed with guns and knives rushed into the villagers and robbed their property. As a result, they happened to meet Yamato and Hiyori, who were staying at a villager's house. As one can imagine, the group of pirates were easily killed. The sea turned into the god of Dako and extinguished the burning fire with freezing air, but many villagers still died tragically from the pirates' butcher knives and the fire. Now the two are helping the villagers clean up the ruins. Hancock sat quietly in a tea house, with Salome squeezing her shoulders behind her. No matter whether the pirates invaded or dealt with the ruins, she did not take action. Just watch quietly. Bai Yi took the daybreak into Shangshang and went to the island to check the situation. When they arrived at the center of the island, they saw Yamato and Hiyori busy. Extinguish fires and provide disaster relief, and rescue people trapped in the rubble. Even if they cannot be rescued, their bodies must be found. He was not interested in this kind of disaster relief work, so he strolled over to Hancock, asked the tea house owner to order a pot of tea, and waited for Yamato and the two to finish their work. In a ruins, Yamato moved a beam away, and there were two bodies underneath. Flames, smoke, and houses collapsed, leaving them dead. The man among them had a knife stuck in his chest, and he was killed by pirates. After dragging the two corpses out and putting them together with the other corpses, they suddenly heard some movement underground. After completely clearing the fallen ruins, we found a basement here. Opening the basement door reveals a head with red hair. The girl crawled out of the ground coughing, and immediately went to look for her parents. A neighbor who knew her sighed and pointed the direction for her, and she recognized her parents among the corpses. Weeping loudly, there were many people crying like her. The sadness is overwhelming, but the tragedy is irreversible. Yamato and the two were busy for a whole day and stayed overnight with the thanks of the villagers. The next day, when Bai Yi was about to take them away, the orange red-haired girl came to them. Master Yamato, can I become your disciple? After she knew that Yamato and Hiyori had killed the pirates, the idea of becoming a master came into her mind. If you had the strength of Yamato and the others, how could you let your family be killed by pirates? Well, Yamato looked back at Bai Yi. She was also taken in and has been learning chi skills from Bai Yi. She thought that she was not qualified to be a disciple yet. Seeing Yamato and Hiyori both looking at Bai Yi, the girl realized that this young man was their leader. Sir, please accept me as your disciple. She knelt on the ground, put her forehead on the ground, and begged Bai Yi. What's your name? This scene had a bit of Zoro's apprenticeship with Eagle Eye, so Bai Yi asked more. Iska, the girl answered loudly. Iska. Bai Yi felt that this name was somewhat familiar. After thinking about it carefully, I realized to my surprise, isn't this the female marine who had an affair with Ace in Ace Gaiden? If it's her, she can accept it. Why do you want to worship me as your teacher? Bai Yi continued to ask. Iska said, I want to kill the pirates and protect the weak. This answer is not unexpected, but it is not the answer Bai Yi wants. But, in this world, there are more evil beings than pirates, and you can provoke them. If you provoke the pirates, you can still kill them, but if you provoke those people, you will become the enemy of the whole world. Iska didn't know who he was talking about, but he still replied, No matter who it is, as long as he does evil, I will let him get the punishment he deserves. What if it's Marine? Bai Yi asked. Marine. Iska obviously didn't expect Marine to do evil. In her mind, Marine is just. There are also scum in the Marines. They collude with pirates, bring trouble to the village, take bribes, and bully the weak. Sooner or later, you will see such scum wearing a cloak of justice. What should you do then? Iska thought for a while, then gritted his teeth and said, as long as you do evil, even Marines should be punished. Bai Yi nodded. Yes, but I don't accept mediocre people. Within 3 years, I want you to kill a pirate alone with a bounty of at least 30 million. If you can't do it, I will kill you. Do you dare? No problem. Take Iska away from this island and teach her how to practice chi. Yamato and Hiyori will also give her some tips from time to time. The girl was only 13 years old, which was the golden age for cultivation. Her own understanding was also good. After only 15 days, she had already gained the sense of energy. At this moment, Don County has arrived in Logue Town. Coming here is just out of curiosity as a Hamey. This is the last stop from East Blue to the Grand Line. It is also the place where Roger, the Pirate King, was born, and the place where he surrendered for execution. Moreover, this is also Bartomeu's hometown, and he suspects that the barrier fruit appeared here after Kurozumi Semimaru's death. Judging from his reaction to Kurozumi Semimaru's energy when he last saw him, Kurozumi Semimaru is old and has less than 2 years left to live. Moreover, after Orochi dies and Kaido lands on the island, Kurozumi Semimaru may not be left alive. This is where Roger was executed. In the central square of Logue Town, Bai Yi and his party were visiting Roger's execution platform. There was a crowd of people around, and there were quite a few people coming to visit this resort. After squeezing to death a few pirates who came to cause trouble as usual, the people with evil intentions around them suddenly calmed down a lot and consciously stayed away from them. In a restaurant next to the square, 3 diners were looking out of the window. Is it him? A man wearing a cloak and a tattoo on his face noticed the commotion in the square and was quickly attracted to the 5 people in the center. There is no way, Bai Yi and others are too eye-catching. Yes, he was the one who bought the daybreak from me and said that what he wanted to do was similar to what we were doing. Perhaps, this person could be an ally. The 3 people in the tavern are none other than the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Monkey D. Dragon, Crow, and Ivankov. But I heard that he has been very close to Marine recently. The Revolutionary Army has its own intelligence, and Bai Yi often goes to naval headquarters. This matter is not a secret to them. By getting closer to Marine, he may be hiding his true purpose. I don't think he is Marine's lackey, at least he has the ambition to become the 4 emperors. This is what the Crow said about Bai Yi. Moreover, his strength has improved rapidly. Since he married 9 snakes, the combat power of the 9 snakes pirates has also risen sharply. Now it seems to be the strongest force in paradise, and the surrounding pirates have almost been wiped out by them. Ivankov said, I think I can get in touch and maybe cooperate with them. Long nodded slowly. Okay, let's go and have a look. In the square, Bai Yi looked around the execution platform and even jumped up to overlook the scenery below, fulfilling his previous wish. Then, he asked Yamato Hiyori to take Iska for a walk while he and Hancock Salome went to the weapons store. 3rd generation Kidetsu has been here for a long time, and Yukijiro is the treasure of this place. There is a high probability that he is here now. Dear guest, what weapons do you need? I have everything here. Ipponmatsu's wretched face has a shiny forehead, but his hair on both sides is extremely thick. Bai Yi and Hancock are extraordinary at first sight, and even the maid following them is a beauty in the world. Such a guest would definitely be rich and powerful, so he greeted him with a flattering smile. Just looking around, Bai Yi was walking casually in the weapon shop and occasionally pulled out a knife from the weapon basket. When he walked around the corner, he found the 3rd generation Kidetsu that was already covered in dust. That evil energy is different from others. How to sell this one? Seeing him pull out the sword, Ipponmatsu's expression immediately changed, and he hurriedly said, Sir, this is a demon sword. Several swordsmen have died under this sword, so I can't sell it. It has to be said that the boss is not a complete profiteer, at least he will not sell dangerous goods. Demon sword. Bai Yi smiled faintly, and the moment he pulled out the blade, Jia wrapped his hand and grabbed it hard, and scattered all the sinister energy in it. A sword is a sword, how can there be any demonic sword? Any sword can only be subordinate to me. As he spoke, he threw the blade upward and straightened his arm. I'll see today how he will bite the Lord. The blade spun and fell, and the shop owner Benmatsu looked nervous. He still didn't know the identities of these distinguished guests. If they were injured here, he didn't know what punishment they would face. However, the blade rotated, and when it approached his arm, the blade was clearly facing inward. Suddenly, the blade rotated in the opposite direction, slashed across Bai Yi's arm with the back of the blade, and penetrated deeply into the floor. A miracle. Absolutely a miracle. Ipponmatsu was shocked. If the blade happened not to touch the man's arm, it might still be possible. But the blade was clearly about to land on his arm, so why did it change its direction in the air? He didn't understand it, and Bai Yi wouldn't explain it to him. It was just a matter of transforming things and controlling things. He originally wanted to try Zoro's way of showing off, but found that this kind of showing off was not suitable for him. In the end, the only way to control third-generation Kaitoru's direction was to use the Gomono technique. But on his face, there was a calm look, with everything under control. How? I said, all swords can only be in my hands. Ipponmatsu was greatly shocked, and he said respectfully, since this sword has been surrendered by you, it means that it has recognized you, so I will give it to you as a gift. Bai Yi didn't refuse and asked again, I heard that you still have a treasure here, show it to me. Ipponmatsu said, Sir, wait a moment, I'll go get it right now. Soon, he took out Yukizai. This was one of the 50 swordsmanship. In the world of pirates, it was considered a good weapon. Sir, this is a good and quick sword. I am willing to give it to you for free. He is still shocked by the scene where Gui Che turned around and did not dare to hurt Bai Yi's arm. He felt that the young man in front of him was definitely not an ordinary person. As a gift of a good and sharp knife, he might be able to gain more in the future. No need. Bai Yi rejected his kindness. 2 knives didn't cost much, and a weapons store owner was not qualified to owe him a favor. Just bid normally, I won't be short of your money. Seeing that he couldn't accept it, Ipponmatsu had no choice but to quote, the market price of a good sword is usually more than 1 million, and Yukizai is a high-quality sword, worth 1.5 million belly. The quality of the third-generation Kitetsu is not inferior to that of a good sword, but since no one can use it, it only requires 1 million baileys. Bai Yi didn't make a counter-offer. The price was indeed the market price. He left behind 2.5 million belly and left with 2 knives. Although he doesn't need it, there are many people under him who use knives, so he can use it for them. Zoro of the 3-sword style only has 1 shisui now, and he also needs 2 swords that he can handle. After leaving the weapons store, they bumped into a man wearing a windbreaker. Monkey D. Dragon. Putting the 2 knives into his mouth, he looked at the dragon. You really know me. Long had close contact with Bai Yi and felt that he had a special temperament, which was gentle and domineering. A drink for 930. Bai Yi said, okay. Several people walked deeper into Logue Town. On the roadside, there were several boys and girls chasing each other. They carried knives and wooden sticks and imitated the movements of pirates going out to sea. Young ones, follow your great captain and set sail. I will lead you to find the treasure of the former pirate King Gordy. Roger. The green comb-headed boy laughed loudly, and as soon as he finished speaking, he was kicked aside by a girl next to him. I should be the captain of the pirate ship. Bator, you can only be the deputy captain. The girl has red hair. Although she is not very old, her breasts are quite large. She held a wooden stick in her hand, put it on her shoulder, and shouted, partners. Set sail with me. As Roger's hometown, there are many young people looking to the sea, and scenes like this are also very common. But Bai Yi was attracted by the coxcomb-headed boy. Bartolomeo, I didn't expect to see this guy so soon, and I don't know if he has eaten the barrier fruit by now. As for the girl, there is a high probability that she is Desaya. After looking at it for a few times, he stopped paying attention. Now he is more looking forward to cooperating with the Revolutionary Army. If he knew that he had assassinated Luffy, I don't know what his expression would be. In a remote tavern, there is a long table in a private room. On the left side of the long table, Bai Yi, Hancock and Salome were sitting. On the right, there are Dragon, Crow, and Ivankov. The hotel waiter brought wine and a table full of delicious food before closing the door and leaving. Last time you told Crow that your goals were consistent with ours, what did you mean? You also want to overthrow the world government? Faced with Long's straightforward inquiry, Bai Yi just smiled. This is my secret, you just need to know that we are not enemies now, we can even become allies. Long nodded. From the first moment he saw Bai Yi, he knew that this young man, unlike himself, would never succumb to himself. Then let's talk about cooperation. The Revolutionary Army has just started, and now it lacks everything. It still needs to secretly develop its power without the eyes and ears of the world government. It would indeed be much easier if it could have a powerful ally to assist it. Bai Yi poured himself a glass of wine and took a sip. He has a perfect digestive organ created by the immortal thief Luku, and alcohol has no effect on him. I will send you all the money, weapons, food, and information you need now. Bai Yi looked directly into Long's eyes. But, what can you bring to me? Long was shocked when he heard this. It is true that what Bai Yi said was too full. Money, weapons, food, intelligence, does he know how much he needs? For the Revolutionary Army whose goal is to overthrow the world government, this is an astronomical figure. But this man from the Nine Snakes Empress said he had both. Even if he sells 9 snakes, he won't be able to get so much. Bai Yi saw his doubts, but he didn't explain, just looked at him with a smile. Money, as long as he wants it, all the treasures in the world are his private property. With the help of earthly immortal, illusion body barrier and ghost shadow movement, coupled with the bite bag, he can enter and exit the treasure house of any country at will. You can even leave the robot alone and let the puppet perform the task. In fact, if the doll hadn't been tasked with keeping an eye on the capital of 7 waters, he might have been sent to search for wealth. As for weapons, this is a rather troublesome thing. Although he could freely enter and exit the treasure house and the arsenal, the space of the capsule was limited, and it would take too long for him to carry it alone. But Mingo is about to capture Dressrosa and start making weapons. Wano Kuni, controlled by Kaido, is also making weapons. He could completely use the underground world as a middleman to buy Mingzhe and Kaido's weapons and sell them to the Revolutionary Army. The same is true for food. The final intelligence, after initially taking control of the underground world, it is easier to obtain intelligence, at least much easier than the Revolutionary Army. The dragon was silent. The other party has everything, what can they give? In other words, since the other party lacks nothing, what does the other party need? After thinking about it, Long said, if you are willing to help us, when the revolution is successful, we can make you the king of a country, and your power will not be liquidated. Question mark. Is this guy trying to get away with nothing? If the Revolutionary Army is so insincere, there is no need to discuss this cooperation. Bai Yi looked sulky and leaned gently on the back of the chair, showing an impatient expression. Long sighed, knowing it wouldn't be that simple. You can make an offer. What do you need? Bai Yi said. First, devil fruit, the more the merrier. I will accept anyone who comes, and I am willing to buy it at a price that is 10% higher than the market price. The first request put Long in a bit of trouble. Devil fruit is a scarce material, and it is also a strategic material. They don't have much of it themselves, and if they want to sell it, where can they not sell it? Second, Bai Yi stretched out 2 fingers and continued, I will issue some tasks. As long as the Revolutionary Army helps complete them, they will get the task bounty. Mission. Long resisted a little. He always felt that Bai Yi was trying to trick him, but there was no evidence. It's just taking money to do things. Aren't your Revolutionary Army doing these things now? Bai Yi's words helped him dispel his doubts. Indeed, using money to do things is just another way of saying it. Both of these points are fair trades, right? Bai Yi only mentioned 2 things. However, if you agree, you can only trade devil fruit to me in the future. If I know that you sold it to others privately, our cooperation will be invalidated and you will never be able to get it again. I have a mission here. He said with a mysterious smile. My intelligence system is very powerful. Quote. Long thought carefully, and then quietly discussed with Crow and Ivankov. Okay, but how do I get the mission? And where do I get the bounty? Bai Yi said. I will use the phone bug to contact you, and I will tell you the place to collect the bounty when the task is released. He has some plans, and sometimes he doesn't need to take action himself. He can hide his existence by letting the Revolutionary Army take the lead. If it is feasible, it can be promoted to all parts of the world in the future. Since you agree, then take on my first mission. Quote. Bai Yi pressed his palm down gently. Room. A transparent space cover appeared. He cut off the wardrobe with a knife, and then restored it. Op fruit. Sure enough, you got it. Although op fruit's transaction seems secretive, many people actually know about it. Even the Revolutionary Army has the idea of robbing. However, after calculation, forced robbery would cause great losses, so we gave up in the end. According to reports from their informants in Marine, the person who intercepted the op fruit was Bai Yi, but Sengoku has yet to find any evidence. Now it seems that Sengoku's speculation is indeed correct. Q equals %. Bai Yi smiled and said, in a few days, after our ship leaves, I will go with your Revolutionary Army to attack the Marine branch in Logue Town. But our Revolutionary Army Qian Wanghao doesn't plan to attack the Marine branch in Logue Town. Ivankov was puzzled by Bai Yi's words. As a senior cadre of the Revolutionary Army, he should know if there was such a big action. Long immediately understood his plan. You want to put the suspicion of intercepting op fruit on our Revolutionary Army. Bai Yi nodded. It saves effort to talk to smart people. Anyway, you are heinous criminals in the eyes of the world government, and the crime of intercepting op fruit is nothing. Afterwards, I will pay you 50 million belly. At this time, Crow, who had been silent, said, to clear your suspicion, 50 million is too little. Bai Yi said, the strength of the Logue Town Marine branch is worth the price at best. If you want more, that's fine. Let's attack Marineford together and I'll give you Wushan Yiyu. Or Mariajoy too. Ivankov rolled his eyes. Attack Marineford? What a joke. Maybe all members of our Revolutionary Army will be blamed for it. Long also shook his head. It was impossible to attack Marineford and Mariajoy. The risk was too high and it was not in the interest of the Revolutionary Army. Just the Logue Town Marine branch, 50 million is very reasonable. He agreed and understood that this mission was actually a test by Bai Yi. Okay. Bai Yi poured a glass of wine for Long, raised his glass and said, happy cooperation. A pleasure to work with. The cooperation matters have been discussed well, so there is no need to stay too much. My ship will leave now. You go and gather people. We will meet here in a month. After leaving the tavern, he said to Hancock, you go back first. The Revolutionary Army and I will return to Nine Snakes after attacking Logue Town. Hancock knew that he and others had to leave now, otherwise they would ruin Bai Yi's plan, so he had no choice but to say goodbye to him reluctantly. In front of the daybreak, Bai Yi looked at the person in front of him in stunned silence. Kuina. Why are you here? Hiyori smiled at Yamato and said, look, Brother Yi will definitely think of Tashigi as Kuina. Tashigi. Bai Yi was surprised. Why did these girls abduct her when she went to discuss something with the Revolutionary Army? Could it be that Tashigi's home is in Logue Town? But even so, why did she agree to go with Yamato and the others? Salome was circling Tashigi at this moment. She was amazed and said, she is really just like Sister Kuina. Yes, Yamato said. Only now do I believe that there are really two identical people in the world. And they are not related by blood. By the way, isn't Tashigi really Kuina's lost sister? And you are still the same age. No one would believe you if you are not twins. Tashigi was a little shy surrounded by a group of people, his face was red, and he kept grabbing the corners of his clothes with his hands. If the only difference between her and Kuina is probably the pair of glasses. I don't know how she became myopic at such a young age. After inquiring, Rie found out the reason why Tashigi came. It turned out that a group of pirates who had been selling people for a living passed by Logue Town and locked these abducted children in a rented private house. As a result, when the three Yamatos passed by, the pirates tried to abduct them too. As a result, a simple massacre broke out. After killing these pirates, Yamato and others entered the house and found the imprisoned child Madara. Hiyori went to notify the Marine branch in Logue Town. Only Tashigi chatted with Yamato and others because she looked so much like Kuina, and they soon became best friends. Tashigi's family died of pirates and she had nowhere to go, so Yamato and Hiyori invited her to go to Kuja with them. And told her that there was a sister there who looked exactly like her. So, Yin Sichi followed them to Don Changsheng. Brother Yi, can you take her to Nine Snakes? Sister Tashigi has lost her family. If we don't take her in, she will live on the streets. Only then did Hiyori remember that Bai Yi's consent had not been obtained when taking Tashigi in. He quickly asked him, his tone was quite coquettish and naive. Bai Yi agreed. Thinking about it now, if Yamato and others did not conflict with that group of pirates, those pirates would most likely conflict with others and eventually attract Marine. Tashigi was rescued and stayed in Logue Town to join Marine. It seems that as he damages the future world line more and more, even if he no longer actively destroys the plot has already deviated greatly. After boarding the Dawn, Salome sailed away. Bai Yi used the ability of Op Fruit in the cabin to pass through the hull and enter the sea water, and used the Earth Immortal and Phantom Barrier to return to Logue Town. I found an unoccupied house. It looked like it had been empty for at least a month, and there was a light BBC layer of dust in the room. This is just my hiding place. Just wait for the arrival of the Revolutionary Army, and you can implement your plan. In the room, after a little cleaning, he began to practice Op Fruit's ability. It has been so long since he got this fruit, but he hasn't developed it seriously yet. It's just a good time to take advantage of your free time to develop your fruit abilities and awaken them as soon as possible. In the first half of the Grand Line, the doll has arrived at the capital of Seven Waters. Ah Jin has completely recovered from his injury and is practicing Qi with the Monet sisters. In the past few days, Monet's sense of knowledge has awakened, and Sugar's talismans have also made great progress. If she were to fight Ah Jin again now, even if Ah Jin was in perfect condition, she would still be able to kill him within 9 talisman. In the capital of the Seven Waters, Tom has completed the production of the sea train, Smoking Tom. Accompanied by residents of the island and officials of Eni's lobby, the sea train was officially launched. The doll who had just arrived in the Seven Waters capital happened to see this spectacle. Everyone's cheers shook the world, and even the Eni's lobby officials were amazed. They announced in public that in 3 days, Tom would be retried on the charge of building a ship for the Pirate King. On the coast, Frame and Bingshan hugged Tom and cried with joy. Master, your crime can finally be offset. Master, we live in a garbage dump. Granny Kokoluo, who is behind Tom, is also very happy. She has been working in Tom's studio for many years and has been Tom's old friend for many years. Now Tom's crime can be offset, which has been her wish for many years. The crowd of onlookers gradually dispersed, and a judicial official with a wretched description suddenly received an order from the phone bug. Yes, after hanging up the phone, he quickly came to Tom with an extremely arrogant expression. I am Spandam, the commander of CP9, the Secret Service agency of the world government. Hand over the ancient weapon Pluton design in your hand. Tom frowned and said calmly, I don't know what ancient weapon is. You have found the wrong person. Where is Spandam willing to give up? It must be on you. If you don't hand it over, you will still die even if you build a sea train. Frame was immediately furious and grabbed Spandam by the collar. You just want to kill my master. What ancient weapon are you talking about? Even if you want to convict, you have to provide evidence. Bingshan quickly pulled away from Fram. The other party was an official of the world government's secret service, and they were not someone they could offend. Tom said neither humble nor arrogantly, Sir, I don't know what you are talking about. If everything is okay, I will go home. After saying that, Spandam took Fram and Bingshan away without waiting for him to speak. Damn old guy. Spandam is angry because the other party refuses to cooperate, but this is an order given by the world government, and he must complete it. You think I can't do anything to you without evidence? Humph, let's see. On the sea outside the capital of Seven Waters, the puppet took out a telescope to observe. Sure enough, we saw Spandam steal the battleships built by Frankie and use these battleships to attack the Justice ship. Fortunately, these things haven't changed. Putting down the telescope, the puppet stood comfortably on the deck watching Monet. The 3 of them practiced. The talents of these 2 sisters are indeed good. Now that Monet has awakened to see and understand, in the battle with Ah Jin, he can defeat Ah Jin even without using the Devil Fruit ability. But this gave Ah Jin more fighting spirit and made him exercise harder every day. 3 days later, when Ah Jin finally had a sense of energy, the doll began to teach him the Bajikwan and the Great Compassionate Hands. The Great Compassionate Hand is not reproduced in the doll, but he can explain its principles to Ah Jin orally. At sea, a judicial ship sailed to the Seven Waters capital. This was the judge who was going to try Frankie for secretly building a warship to attack the judicial ship. 2 hours later, the sea train started. Tom used his credit for building the sea train to offset Frame's guilt, but he had to be brought to Annie's lobby for trial for Roger's shipbuilding charges. The sea train roared towards him, and a thin young man emerged from the sea and tried to block the movement of the sea train with his body. He wanted to prevent his favorite master Tom from being taken away for trial. However, how can a mere human body of flesh and blood compete with a steel behemoth? The young man was hit by the sea train without any accident, his blood and flesh were splashed, and his body sank into the sea. About there, the puppets watching from a distance began to drive the boat quickly towards the bottom of the sea. A young boy with a broken body was slowly sinking into the sea, and the puppet dragged him into the cabin with a cable. Tisk, tisk, it's so miserable. Bai Yi shook his head and sighed. Limbs were broken, skin and flesh were torn, and organs were seriously injured. If it had been anyone else, they would have died in this car accident. But Bai Yi knows that Frankie will not die and can transform his body after waking up. When Monet and Sugar saw him dragging someone in, they also looked at him curiously. Master Yi, can he still live? She was shocked by the boy's wound. This injury was even more serious than the one agent had received. Can live, Bai Yi said. Clean his wound and he will wake up on his own. If I had both hands, I could have asked the main body to save Frankie, but unfortunately I didn't. Putting the seriously injured Frame in a clean room, Monet brought hot water and wiped the bloodline off his body with a towel. Originally, she wanted to wrap it up with a bandage, but with such a serious injury, she didn't know how to start. Master Yi, what should he do? The flesh and skin all over his body has been torn, and I don't know how many bones have been broken. It can't be covered. Monet was in a dilemma. Bai Yi said, clean his wounds and apply some hemostatic medicine. This guy has a lot of vitality. The boat follows the sea train as it sails towards Annie's lobby. Finally, he vaguely saw the rocks on the seabed in front of him. He knew that he was approaching the shore of Annie's lobby, so he said to Monet, wait for me here. Then he jumped into the sea and quickly reached the island. The sea train stopped at the iron fence in front of Annie's lobby, which is the front island, and a guard opened the fence for it. At this moment, the puppet in the sea quietly jumped onto the back carriage of the train. After getting in through the window, he quietly killed several agents and then quickly looked forward. There is an agent stationed in each carriage, but in front of him, he is no different from ordinary people. Finally, in the middle car, he saw Tom sitting here, and the two CP agents opposite Tom who had been staring at him. Under the shadow of the ghost and the phantom body barrier, the two agents died unexpectedly without even seeing him. Tom was surprised. Who are you? The doll takes off its black hood. Another face was revealed. That was Bai Yi's face. Mr. Tom, are you okay? It's you. Tom was deeply impressed by him. It was precisely because of his communication that Tom built the train in advance, and the performance of the train far exceeded his expectations. Thank you for your advice, which allowed me to fulfill my lifelong wish. Tom thanked Bai Yi sincerely, but why do you want to come here? He quietly sneaked into the sea train and killed the CP agent. Bai Yi's purpose, how could he not have imagined it? But he didn't dare to leave, otherwise he would harm Frankie's people. Mr. Tom, Frame's battleship attacked the judicial ship. Do you really think it was Frame who did it? The puppet was not in a hurry and sat opposite him, chatting with him. Tom was silent. He believed Frankie would not do such a thing. But if Frankie didn't do it, why did this happen? He actually understands everything, but doesn't want to say anything. Mr. Tom, the CP agency doesn't care about your life. It doesn't matter whether they kill you or not. But they want the Pluton design. Do you think that if you die, you can let this matter go? Tom was shocked. Why did this person also know about Pluton's design drawings? Did he know that he was here? Could it be that he contacted me because of this drawing? Mr. Tom, you gave the Pluton design drawings to Bingshan. Even if you die, the world government will still not let your apprentices go. They must get the ancient weapon Pluton design drawings. So, the meaning of your death, where is it? Tom was surprised again. This man actually knew that he had given the drawings to Bingshan. Wrong. He must be scamming me. Bai Yi continued. In order to save you, Fran tried to block the sea train with his body. Now he has been seriously injured and is dying. Tom's expression changed. Why is Frame so stupid? Is he dead? Flam and Bingshan were his disciples, but he taught them as if they were his own children and taught them all his skills. When I heard the bad news about Fram, I couldn't sit still. Bai Yi smiled and said, I happened to be nearby at the time and rescued him, but his condition is not optimistic. I don't know whether he can survive. Since Mr. Tom is worried, why not go and see for yourself? Tom shook his head. I can't leave. If I escape, I will be fighting against the world government. I will. What will happen? Bai Yi said. Will you be wanted? With the Pluton design drawings, you are destined to be an enemy of the world government. Even if you hand it over, the world government will still kill you, and your two may have rubbings apprentice you. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.